Hey everyone, this is Ben from the Gorge with Ben and Sara, and you're listening to the BS Podcast Network. This is The Gorge. It's a podcast where my friend Sara and I gorge ourselves on overanalyzing a topic.
The Gorge is brought to you by Patreon. That's patreon.com/thegorge, where for just $5 a month, you get 2 whole extra podcasts. For $2 a month, you gain... normally That's Hell You're Walking Into, but this month you get Pathetic Fools, There's No Escape, a podcast where I dive into the core of Vector Sigma and try to figure out what the hell is going on with all these Transformers, and Ben holds my hand the whole way, because it's a lot. Hey, there's a lot of Transformers media out there. Did you know that?
Did you know there's a lot of Transformers media, and all of it has, different rules and different, methods of canon?
It's horseshit. I hate it. But also, we have a whole month called Transform A, so I actually don't hate it that much. And then... if you want to spend $5, you also get Takeout, a monthly commentary track where we watch usually bad things. We try to watch bad things, but we always accidentally find out we like them.
I don't think that'll be a problem for this month's Takeout, though.
That's a good point. What if we end up liking it? What if we end up liking The Last Night? What are you going to do?
I know we won't. Because
okay.
if it's somehow even worse than Revenge of the Fallen and Dark of the Moon, we're fine.
Okay, well then we're gonna hate it. Cool. Please look forward to that. That's this month's Takeout track. Like I said, head on over to patreon.com/thegorge. And if you haven't noticed, we're talking a whole lot about Transformers because this month is Transform A.
But first, before we get to that though, I have to say... thank you to...
oh, yes!
Red Lantern Reviews, Holy Star 64, Neon Hellcat, Patrick Perez, Roddy 1/2, Hasso Toby 27, Saturn, Alice Marks, Shia, Magus, Aquamancer, Jack, Liam Lane, and that other one dude.
Thank you all. We love you very much.
Thank you for your money. We are at $78 away.
Tell your friends.
From the bad game. We're so close to finally playing the Bouncer.
A game that I don't want to play, but I will for $200 a month. So please look forward to that. Tell all your friends about our Patreon. Every little bit helps. Just spreading the word, even if you don't actually, contribute to the Patreon. We still love you because you listen to us talk. So tell your friends. That's what I always say. Tell all your friends. Pester them into listening to our extremely cool podcast about Transformers, which I think only maybe 10% of our audience actually partakes in. But who cares? Because I partakes in it. That's a good number. And I partakes in some fucking Transformers. A lot of it lately. I think I had a dream about it the other night. So that's the level we're on now, guys. So that being said, I'm so afraid of this episode.
Listen, we'll just go until it's done.
Oh no, it's gonna be so much.
Alright, we're just gonna do it. We're gonna do it until we finish.
We're gonna spend an entire 4 hours
if Pat
on
and
Volume
Willie
55.
Can spend 4 to 5 hours a week talking about whatever, we can do it too.
Pat and Willie are crazy people, though. We are too. You're right. All right, let's do this.
All right.
So we're talking about More Than Meets the Eye, even more. You saw the episode title.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
We did season 1 last time, so we're moving on to season 2. the next 5 volumes of the series. This is post-Dark Cybertron.
A story I still don't know the plot of, but yeah.
And so, just like last time, I wrote down the story arcs, courtesy of the TF Wiki, and so we'll just go down the list of story arcs.
Let's do it.
Starting with World Shut Your Mouth, which basically constitutes Megatron's trial and the discovery of the coffin.
Yes. Where do you even start with this one? See, this is the problem, is that, like, Season 1 is really good, but it's also, like, it's a little bit more, I don't know, compact in a way. This one, everything in Season 2 is so dense. There's, like, 7 things happening in every single story arc. Like,
yeah, you forget.
At a minimum.
You forget that, like, there are side stories going on, like, outside of the main core story. Mm-hmm. Like, every few pages, they're like, oh yeah, now it'll cut to these characters doing something.
Now we have this going on. There's a whole... And it literally stretches the length of the entire season. There's a back-running plot line of, like, Cyclonus and Tailgate's relationship falling apart. That's, like... I was, like, thinking about, like, are we even going to be able to cover that? We are going to find a way to cover it, because it's really good. But, yeah, there's so much going on. I was starting to, like, you know, in order to get ready for all of this, I just kind of, like, flipped through everything, and I'm, like, flipping through it, and I'm like, oh, God, there's so much in here. So we're going to have to just... Ben, give me some notes. Give me some of your notes to help me get some structure.
So, first few things that I want to mention is, one of the very first gags you get in Season 2 is, Brainstorm and Nautica talking about Brainstorm's idea for color-coded lasers.
Yeah.
And Nautica says something like, well, don't you think it's kind of, like, unethical to, like, have a weapon that judges your morality? And he's like,
yeah.
They don't have to be red and purple.
They could be any color. They could be anything. So yeah, that's a good place to start, is that we have kind of a new cat. We have, like, some returning people and some new people with this story arc, including they finally got around to introducing a couple lady formers into the cast, thank God.
And by a couple, right now we mean 3.
Literally 3, it's fine.
It's just Windblade, Nautica, and Chromia get added to the cast, and...
Velocity also shows up, so that's 4.
But later, but I mean, like, she's later. Like, Dark Cybertron is, and onward until that story arc, it's just the 3 we have right now are just Windblade, Chromia, and Nautica.
Cool, good to know. I'm gonna read Windblade eventually. I'm very much looking forward to it. That being said, Nautica's one of the new ones, and she's a delight. She's just a joy. We love a girl who is extremely awkward and very cute. And good at science, and I think is in love with everybody on the ship. What? That's the one thing you get from Nautica, is it's just like, are you in love with everyone? It's cool if you are. I get it. Me too.
It's kind of funny, and kind of thinking about, like, in a weird way, characters like Nautica and Tailgate remind me of Philip J. Fry from Futurama.
I get it.
In which the pitch is that Tailgate missed the war, right? So, like, he's a good, like, audience surrogate. If you're just starting here, he's the character who's going to introduce everyone, right? And he's, like, the outsider who has to get used to all the weird stuff. And kind of same with Nautica, who has been away from everything for so long. And now has to, like, get used to the craziness of the ship, right?
Yeah.
The problem, and this is the problem they had with Fry in Futurama, is that they adapted to their surroundings way too quickly. And, like, nearly immediately lose their outsider audience surrogate role.
Absolutely instantly. Because Nautica is, like, 100% part of, like, the smart guy crew. And it's like, oh, I'm not smart, Nautica. You're adorable, but what do I... Okay. But I do like everything going on between her and all the other smart guys. Like, it's really fun just because she's so nice compared to, like, your brainstorms and your whatnots.
Yeah, she fits really well with Brainstorm, Perceptor, and Perceptor. Like, in the lab doing weird experiments and stuff. And
but she isn't like the weird science type, which is fun.
Yeah.
She's just nice.
But she pals around with Skids and Swerve and, hangs out and just like immediately kind of just like she's part of Team Rodimus. It's a character it's a person he's known for like a week.
Well, at this point, once we get to like the second the Coffin story arc and the second Lost Light, it's been 6 months, so right. She has had a chance to hang out with everybody. But like, it is really funny, just, and it makes sense because like, what is the Lost Light if not just Roddy's dumb frat boy clown car? So like, another awkward weirdo joining the Lost Light. Is it like? It's like a Tuesday that just happens all the time,
We also do have to talk about the Cruditions scene.
Yeah. He doesn't like anybody with more than 3 syllables in their name. And she's like, Rodimus. Yeah, what's your point?
They don't... He denies Blue Street because he looks like Prowl. And
I would... It's cool. I would too.
Yeah.
Anybody who looks like Prowl is not welcome on my ship.
No, it's great. And then, while these kind of hijinks are going on, there is the, 20-foot solid gray elephant in the room.
Shut up. Oh, God. I'm going to show up at James Roberts' house, like, with a crowbar, and be like, you've ruined my life. You have ruined my life. I am now utterly obsessed with this singular character, to the detriment of the rest of my life.
And we're going to talk about it because, like, he becomes, like, the main character of Season 2, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, Season 1 was Roddy's problem. Season 2 is Megatron's problems.
And James Roberts has nailed a redemption arc that we haven't seen since the likes of, like, Zuko.
James Roberts has a 13-song Morrissey playlist just for Megatron. So,
yeah.
If you're that person on Tumblr who insisted to me that, like, they forced him to put Megatron into Season 2, you're wrong. No, you're just wrong. I'm sorry.
This was a choice.
I don't think anybody likes Megatron more than James Roberts. Possibly ever. So, you're wrong. And thank you and have a nice day. Because, like, man, it's just so good. It's such a good build-up from, like, the beginning to the end of sad grandpa trying to, like... And it literally goes back to what Rodimus was saying at the end of everything going with Tyrest. It's like, no, I don't want to die. I want to make amends. Like,
yeah.
Death is cheap. Death is easy. That doesn't actually fix anything. And, like, to a certain degree, yeah, he's also...
he is dodging his trial.
He's also just aware of the fact that, like, there is no salvaging this legacy. Like, there's literally no salvaging his legacy whatsoever, but he still wants to try.
We need... to understand Megatron's character arc, you need to understand that he did this to spite Starscream.
He did do this to spite Starscream, which is great.
His whole thing started because he refused to let Starscream get a W.
Win. Yeah, exactly. Which, like, that's a mood. By the way, in my reading, like, the first time I read More Than Meets the Eye, and my, like, second kind of skim through to get ready for this, in that interim time of, like, a month, I also binged all of Transformers Prime. So, again, the holes in the brain are here to stay. But also, Transformers Prime did an amazing job of warming me up on Starscream as a character. So, coming back to More Than Meets the Eye, I'm like, oh, it's you little shit. Instead of just, like, instant rage at the sight of him. So, that's cool. But no, it is very funny that even, like, literally up until the end, Like, up until he's just jettisoned off into deep space, Megatron is like, I refuse to let Starscream win. It's not happening.
Just the minute Starscream is like, he doesn't deserve justice, he deserves pity. Like the gears turn in Megatron's head.
Like a switch flips.
He's like, how can I bullshit my way out of this?
I am not letting you get this win. I'm not going to my grave knowing that I'm going to my grave because you got a W. Like, absolutely the fuck not.
And then it works. His ploy works because the people against him are the two of the most lawful good beings in existence.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Literally one of my favorite panels in this entire comic. I think I've sent it to you like 6 times, but it's the one where Prime is like, you are not pleading guilty, and he looks like he's about to come over the bench to beat Megatron's ass in front of God and everyone.
I've never seen Optimus's eyes like bug out before. Just like, and because
he's so mad
because it's Optimus Prime. You can't not read Peter Cullen's voice, right? Like,
sure, absolutely.
David Kaye does an amazing job, and so does the voice actor who is in Siege and Cyberverse, who is like 21 and got the bit because like as a teenager he did a really good Peter Cullen impression.
That's incredible. Good for him.
But they do great jobs, but like it's Peter Cullen's character. Like, it's
right,
him.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I would give anything to hear Peter Cullen do that line read.
Yeah, just you are pleading not guilty.
Like, trying to be as incredulous as possible. Like, please give me that.
Oh, it's great.
Because it's just the best. There's so much good shit. There's the fact that in that same issue, we discover that Megatron basically has a black hole in his gut, and it just eats Whirl's arm, and that'll come back, which is amazing.
Oh yeah, there's that great bit where Ratchet is like, miraculously he'll survive. Wait, did I say miraculously? I meant unfortunately.
Yeah. Oh man. And then oh god, there's so much going on, because at the same time, God love them, and they even make fun. It's like, James Roberts, just because you're doing it and you're making fun of it later doesn't mean that makes it any easier to read sometimes. But they do this thing where they jump back and forth between 2 points in time without telling you they're jumping back and forth between 2 points in time.
Yep.
And literally later on in the little sitcom thing, Tailgate comments on that, like, I don't know what's going on. And it takes you a minute. But at the same time, we're going back and forth in this storyline. We're also getting, like, one of the weirder, like, sci-fi storylines in a story packed full of them. But it owns, like, it's really cool. Like, conceptually, it's extremely cool of the fact that, like, at the moment the lost light took off and the quantum engine blew, and it kind of shot them off into a random part of space, it made 2 lost lights because they went off in different directions. Like,
yeah.
They existed, which is great, which is crazy. It's so cool. Do you understand how insane, like, to understand there's literally that there's a whole second Lost Light crew of the same people who were just off doing their own thing. Like, we were just following one of them. It's like the comedy version of the coin flip of existence whenever you teleport. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's literally, it literally is that. It's
like, only because that Lost Light story was more interesting did we end up following them.
Yeah.
But, like, there was a whole other version of this crew running around and getting into trouble. And the only reason that became a problem is because ours got in proximity to them. Like, that's it.
So
it took like 6 reads for me to get what they're saying. I'm like, oh god, okay.
Before we get to that though, I do want to talk a little bit more about the coffin and the trial and all that, because
sure,
one of the most fucking heart-wrenching scenes in this, and we didn't talk about it during Dark Cybertron, so it's a good chance to follow up with it here. Which is, we both love Rodimus being like, no, I need to stick around and make amends, right?
Sure, yeah, of course.
And then in Dark Cybertron, you find out that Rodimus carved numbers into his hand. And the reason they're able to save Nightbeat is because it gives Nightbeat a mystery to solve.
Right.
And the numbers being, the crew took a vote, and based on his confession, do you want him to stay as captain or not?
Yeah.
And so he wrote the number of people he wrote the number of people who voted against him on his hand. And then Optimus chews him out for it, saying that you should have stepped down. The only reason you stuck around is because you knew you would win.
And I mean, he was wrong.
We talked last time about how like Rodimus needs to be scolded because that's the only way he learns. Like, and most of the time people are right when they scold him.
Right.
It's wrong here.
Yeah, because like him resigning wouldn't have fixed anything or made anything better. It just would have meant that the crew would have fallen apart. Listen, but for the grace of God and like the overwhelming charisma of Rodimus, does the Lost Light crew continue to persist? We know that for a fact because it gets confirmed in season 3, but that's another story. But like, yeah, then we get the whole thing with the list of names, and fucking Ratchet being on the list.
God, that
knowing that it's a fake list because his name isn't on it.
Yeah, that part, it was like, that's one of those like, I needed to put the comic down for a minute.
It's like, man, that's brutal.
Just like, that list is fake. How do you know? My name's not on it.
It's like, oh.
And then later,
Ratchet buddy.
Later on, or I don't know if it's earlier in the comic, but like it's later chronologically where Ratchet is like, you need to call him. He's not speaking to me right now.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, like, because of the way it's framed, like, you know, those scenes like are happening simultaneously.
Right.
That you know that's all he's been thinking about. Is because now the list has like a name associated with it.
Yeah, like knowing that it was somebody, not just like, you know, a lot of somebody's voting against him, but like somebody who he's like personally close with,
right?
Who's like he considers kind of one of the confidants, is somebody who was just like, no, I don't think you're responsible enough to maintain control of this ship. And the fact that it was that close is a huge problem. Like, it's a big thing. It sticks with him.
And so, yeah, it would take your own dead body to snap you out of that.
Yeah. he's been taking stock for 6 months. Which
is fascinating, and I kind of wish we would have gotten a better look at that, which is Megatron helming the ship by himself because Rodimus is in his room.
Yeah, because Rodimus is too busy pouting for 6 whole months, you know. I guess there's so many parts, like in this and later on in season 3, where it's like, it's obvious that they had other plot lines they kind of wanted to do, and then IDW 1 kind of ended before they could.
There's a lot in season 2 that kind of gets thrown in at the end and is just implied to have been happening the whole time,
right?
Because they didn't have the opportunity to actually show it,
right? Because it was like, well, we're rebooting the continuity, have fun. It's like, that's the problem with American comics sometimes, most of the times. Yeah, but, you know, in the meantime, he's just been, you know, he's been pouting. That's it.
Yeah.
He's been pouting for 6 months.
And you kind of get this implication that those 6 months have probably not been very fun.
No, it's been probably a very drab 6 months. I mean, this is, like we said, Roddy's dumb frat boy clown car, and if Rodimus isn't around to make it into a dumb frat boy clown car, it's just kind of they're just kind of coasting, you know? So,
Megatron doesn't know how to have a good time yet.
Megatron doesn't party. What are you talking about?
And no one likes him.
And no one likes him yet. We're getting there. But in the meantime, no one likes him. I don't understand why. I think he's perfect.
I mean, I can understand.
Don't worry about all the murders. Shut up. We're having a good time here.
And it's funny because they try to make it out to be a little bit of victimize Megatron a little bit. He walks by and his Hab Suite door has been vandalized and everything.
Sure.
But it's he is still Megatron.
He's still Megatron to the degree that when I was reading this, and this is a hell of a way, now with a little bit more context, this is a hell of a way to get into Transformers. But when I was reading this, my first go through, I'm like, no, you're still Megatron, bro. Even I know that. It's cool. Don't worry. So I don't feel that bad for him. At least I don't.
Right.
Later on you do.
Yeah,
because,
that's
sad murder grandpa. But that's the whole point. That's the thing they bring up as well.
Yeah. They actually do bring that up in the Slaughterhouse storyline. Mm-hmm. Because Getaway mentions that, where he's someone kills an Autobot, and you know how to deal with that. Mm-hmm. How do you cope with the guy who literally halved our race?
Yeah, at that point, the numbers are too big.
Yeah. It's out of scope.
It's out of scope. You can't even wrap your head around it. So at that point, you kind of default to just being well, he's just a guy, right? He's just an old man.
I think Riptide says something the guy who's killed more Autobots than have been alive.
Yeah, who have ever lived. Yeah, exactly. It's, What's your next notes? I need some direction again.
Next is moving on to Slaughterhouse, which is
good.
After you open up the coffin and Rodimus is in there. And,
God.
Rewind is back. He pops up in the middle of the doorway. And
it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Chrome Dome hears a scream and Rewind's recorded message. Mm-hmm. And the ship disappears.
The ship starts disappearing. Then it's gone forever, and then there's a whole new ship that had a bad time.
A very bad time on that ship. And it's time for all the new characters to get their chance in the spotlight.
I love it. I think it's the best way, it's the funniest way to just set up having all the new characters hang out together. Establishing no, this is the new cast that we're gonna hang out with for a while, because everybody else was on the ship when it took off, and since the Lost Light blew up, the moment it took off, everybody who joins after that point is not on the duplicate Lost Light, because they went off and they did their own fucking thing.
So this whole idea of Nautica's explanation of the Lost Light, the quantum engines malfunctioned, and instead of choosing A or B, it chooses both.
Right.
And the only reason they were able to exist is because there was enough plausible deniability that it was happening.
Right.
Which reminds me a lot of the Chrono Trigger paradox we talked about way back when we did our Chrono Trigger episode.
Oh, God, yeah.
Which is the idea of the entity, the one in charge, has a personality and a conscience that is actively choosing to just ignore paradoxes.
Yeah. It's kind of I guess in a way, it's how to even go about contextualizing this correctly. It's kind of like how photons can behave as a wave or a beam depending on if they're being observed.
Yeah!
You know? Like, it's not necessarily that there even is, like, an actual, like, higher power.
Well, I mean, there is. We'll get to that. But I know what you mean.
But like, but also no, not really, because those are just some guys as well, technically. They're just very special guys. But it's not even that. It's just that neither crew, like the second Lost Light, didn't draw enough attention to itself before getting wiped out, for anyone to realize that there was a disparity. It's kind of like if Optimus Prime had realized there was 2 Lost Lights, one of them would have immediately disappeared.
Yeah, because like no one around the duplicate Lost Light recognized them. Mm-hmm. It was allowed to exist. Like it is just the universe going, oh shit, and then it throws a tarp over it.
Don't worry about it, it's fine. And then the problem extremely solves itself in a very big way.
Yes. Oh yes.
Oh boy, does it.
That takes care of that paradox.
Real fucking fast. Oh god.
Again,
horrific.
Speaking of, they're robots. It's fine. You can do whatever you want. They're just robots.
Oh god, you can do so much stuff to these robots. That's what I've learned. A lot of comic books in one run through Transformers Prime later, and I'm realizing you can do so much stuff to these poor fucking robots because they're robots.
Because it doesn't count. It doesn't count.
It's fine. Shut up.
It's not gore. They're just robots. You can show a character with an I-beam through his chest, pinning him to a wall, but he's a robot, so it's fine.
It's that shot after Megatron and Ravage have their conversation of Drift and Ratchet, and they're just oh god, they both look so wretched. Like, oh boy, that's a bad one.
When they talk about, like, they just see a bunch of alt modes in the bar, and they're like, why are they all in alt mode, and why is there a hole here? And it's like, oh yeah, Tarn's
a freak. We get a lot of that in this one.
A pervert who executes people and then harvests their still warm T-Cog.
Yeah, you get a lot in this one that Tarn is just a freak.
Yes.
He's just, I mean, like, we got that a lot in the first season, but they're just really laying it on even heavier here. He's just a pervert. Like this. We're doing this now. I don't care. Tarn is an incel. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. He literally, when he's first introduced in season 1, he's literally basically mansplaining something to a Decepticon who already knows. Like, he's telling shit to a Decepticon who already knows the story. He's a Decepticon. Of course he knows the story, right? So then, like, it's just because he likes the sound of his own voice, because he's got, like, a little psycho voice. And, like, he has all the telltale signs of just being, like, a robot incel. He's obsessed with Megatron, like, to a creepy degree, and he thinks he's so... There's something so, like, pathetic in Tarn being... Like, he's, like, this psychopath who also wants to be an administrator.
It's really funny because James... and I wrote this for later when we get to the Permanent Revolution, but, like, James Roberts... His 2 big villains are Tarn and Overlord, right?
Right.
Both of them manage to be the most terrifying, cold-blooded motherfuckers in the room, while in the exact same moment being absolutely pathetic.
Yeah, deeply pathetic, which I think is really interesting. Like, the total banality of evil, of being just, like... what every kind of weird creep you've ever known is really like. Like, yeah, they're cool villains. Like, Tarn's design is sick as shit. It owns. Unequivocally, his design is so fucking good. But, like, and he does all this crazy, fucked up shit, but, like, he's also obsessed with rules and paperwork and
and quarterly
monthly,
meeting. Yeah,
quarterly reviews of performance and all of this really pathetic stuff that I think is really, I think it's good. It's very, it's like the Decepticons who do come across as cool are like Deathsaurus and stuff like that, right? Like the ones who have some kind of spine, who do have some degree of a moral code. It's their own kind of Decepticon-y moral code, but it is still one when he tells Tarn to, kill his men.
Right.
And yeah, it's a good contrast between the two most dangerous motherfuckers in the universe, who are pitiful. I mean, who are genuinely pitiful, who are just obsessive freaks, who mostly just have daddy issues. They want daddy to tell them they did a good job doing the big murders, and Megatron is mostly like, no, I fucked you up. I ruined your lives. Why are you wanting this from me? Which, I mean, makes sense. He did actively ruin their lives, so at that point it's like, if they don't get praise from the person who turned them into what they are, then what are they? Which is a whole other pathology. We are 35 minutes in. Oh no.
I know. This is going to be a pattern. It's fine. I can cross off all that discussion that I had planned for later.
Sorry, it had to come up now because
fine.
because Slaughterhouse is just horrific. It's so, and we kind of talked about this last night in DMs, but it's got to come up here too. What a great shot of having this whole, fraught conversation between Megatron and Ravage about Ravage calling it a moral wobble. Like, him just kind of, he's just second-guessing himself. He's doubting his worldview, and if he can kind of come back to it,
That fucking, he's got that one amazing line where Ravage is like, later on, when we've won, we'll think about this moment and laugh.
Yes! Oh, what a good line,
and
right?
It's like, he and because he also mentions, there's that bit in the trial in World Shut Your Mouth where a bunch of Decepticons, rush the courtroom.
Right.
And, try to bust him out, and Megatron's just no. I'm sorry, it was a good effort, but no, we're done. We're done. It's over. It's over. This worldview has reached its logical conclusion. Yeah. It can't go any further. There is no more developing this idea. And and then and you just get this whole thing where it's every Decepticon that's still loyal is all right, so what's when are you gonna pull the mask off and go, surprise, it was a trick the whole time. Right. He mentions we're moving on with Galvatron instead. Yeah. But the minute that you come clean, he's out. He's out, yeah. As soon as you reveal that this was all part of your genius plan, then who cares what Galvatron has to say? They will immediately flock back to him. Yeah. And it's there's this is all temporary, or at least that's what they hope. They think this is just they hope it's a trick, or at the very worst, it's a wobble. Yeah, it's a wobble. This too will pass. And you kind of get the sense in the conversation that, Megatron is kind of doubting this whole heel turn for a minute. He's thinking maybe you could rally and win this war and, force your worldview upon the entire universe. And then he, backs down from it. Because, at this point he has no idea what he wants to be. We're still in the very beginning of this whole character arc. Yeah, you get the idea, and that, it's kind of funny because, Dark Cybertron, the climax of it is him taking Bumblebee's badge and talking about how, Bumblebee had become his friend now, and he realized, what he'd done. Right. And Dark Cybertron ends with Prime and Megatron like walking out of a room together, prepared for what's next. And then you kind of get this implication throughout the trial and through Slaughterhouse that like Megatron is almost like I may have acted too impulsively.
Yeah,
like
absolutely. Like he might not have thought this one through that well.
Maybe he could have just, because Ravage says like you could have retired, you could have become a civilian instead. Like if you just wanted to like quit being a Decepticon,
you could just quit being Decepticon. Yeah. You could escape the courtroom and easily vanish into the universe. Yeah. You know, like nobody would ever find you.
Why did you want to become an Autobot? And he gives a reason, but like. He doesn't feel confident in it yet.
And then they turn around and we get that shot of Drift and Ratchet, like, you know, in the horrified rigors of their moment of death, like having died in the most excruciating way possible. And it's this great punctuation of like, no, this is the dead end point of this ideology. It can produce nothing but suffering.
Tarn and Overlord are the culmination of Megatron's goal as a Decepticon.
Right, like they are the perfect distillation of what he wants, and it turns out it is bad, guys. It
turns out there actually is no nobility in it.
Yeah, it sucks. As much as I love every Decepticon ever, it sucks. Specifically in this continuity. Like, it's just bad.
Like, whatever noble reasons Megatron had for starting the Decepticon movement in the first place are gone. They have long vanished. This isn't...
Yeah, absolutely.
This isn't even like the Marvel movie thing where it's like, he's making some good points, better have him kill his girlfriend.
Right.
It's... That happened 3.9 million years ago.
Yeah,
he did that, and he just kept going that way.
Sure, absolutely. And I mean, he even says, like, you know, often, many times, I took it too far, which is a wonderful understatement, buddy. But it's cool. I get it.
You know, he's got in his speech with Ravage, in his conversation with Ravage, where he's like, when the world calls you a monster, who cares? The world is wrong.
Right.
But you start thinking of yourself as a monster, and I really want to read. Good. I really want to read the storyline he references when he tells Ravage, like, I once told Prime I killed for the sake of killing, because I know that when he hurts other people, he hurts himself.
Yeah.
I want to read that storyline.
So I know I gotta. I want to find, like, an IDW1 reading list, because I know not all of it is that great, but I mean, like, that's also the same thing with IDW Phase 2.
Right.
Like, it's not all that great, but I want to, like, track down, like, a reading list of all the good stuff. I know it's a little bit more, like, a bunch of smaller stories, right?
Yeah, it's Phase 1, I don't think it gets, like... The first bit of Phase 1 was all just a bunch of miniseries. And then, like, I think later on it got, like, the Transformers as a line, and that, like, went on for a while.
Okay. Well, I would like to, at some point, make time to read that so I can, you know, have some more context.
Right.
But for now, Ben, it's been 42 minutes. What's the next storyline?
No, okay. One more thing about this Slaughterhouse is just so good. Okay, I'm sorry. This is so important. I have so many more things to talk about with Slaughterhouse, though.
I know, it's a problem. Okay, it's fine.
Fine. Okay, but, like, there's a bunch of, like, small issues in here we can skip past. Skids calling out Megatron.
Yes!
It's great. Oh, because... one of my favorite lines in the entire comic is, your true colors. I'd forgotten how purple they are.
It's a good color, Skids.
But he's, you know, because he's like, you know, what, under what, you know, what reason do I have to risk my life for a bunch of organics?
Right.
And, you know, Skids is like, right there. And he points to his
like,
Autobot
what does that
badge.
mean to you?
Like,
what does that mean to you?
Like, if you are not willing to risk your life for other people, then these 6 months have meant nothing.
Right. Like, then you're wearing the Autobot badge exclusively to get out of trouble.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Like, you don't actually believe any of the shit you've been saying. Yeah, it's such a good moment.
It's so great coming from Skids because, again, Skids doesn't remember fucking anything about himself, but he knows one thing, and that is what it means to be an Autobot.
Right. Oh, Skids.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that conversation later.
And then, hey, guess what? Rewind's back.
Hey, this is the one time. So I am not a fan of taking like an emotional death and walking it back. I'm really not. Like, I usually say like, oh, I want everybody to be happy, but I also don't want like my sadness to feel cheapened either.
Yeah.
Like, like I was legitimately I had a 2 or 3 days long meltdown about what happened to Rewind because it was emotionally affecting. It was really powerful stuff where it was like that real, like, genuine moment of helplessness, of not being able to do anything to save somebody who matters that much to you, and having to like grapple with that when you are already an emotional wreck and then have something like incredibly important taken from you.
Yeah. And
so I thought, like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this. But then I thought about it more, and I love it. I don't care. I think this is the best possible way to, like, bring somebody back from the dead is to not actually bring them back from the dead.
Yeah.
But to introduce, like, an alternate version of that person.
Exactly. I love it. I love that. Here's your parallel universe self, and they're kind of the same, but not quite.
But not quite. They've been through enough different stuff that they are now, like, alternate Chrome Dome is a different person from, like, our Chrome Dome.
Like, he's, in the next issue, Rewind talks to him about that, where he's like, you tried to move in with me right away, and you gave me all of, your Rewind's old stuff. And he's like, yeah, we made a lot of good memories there. And he's like, I didn't go there.
Yeah, I didn't make those memories with you. I am a different person from that Rewind. But, like,
and it's great.
It's all worth it just for the last, that, again, More Than BCI is a comic that never, ever wastes page space because they have so much to say in such a short amount of time. So anytime you get a page where there's no dialogue at all, hey, that's the important page, guys. Pay attention to that one. And you get a whole page of just Rewind scooting over to lay his head on Chrome Dome's shoulder.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
So good.
I just love it. And this crew is so great. This is the best crew ever because characters were waiting around for Chrome Dome to rematerialize.
Yeah.
To show him.
Yeah. They knew he would come back, and they're like, hey, we got a surprise for you.
You need to go outside right now. Put these Magna boots on and go outside.
It's so sweet. Everybody cares about each other so much. What the hell? It's so at this point we are so far into the story. We are on volume 6.
Yes, this is the end of volume 6.
It's so earned at this point where you understand that all of these characters feel so strongly about each other.
And, speaking of characters coming back after a brutal slaughtering by the DJD, next is Births, Deaths, and Interventions.
Oh, yeah.
Which gives us a good bit of Megatron backstory. And then kills Trail Cutter. Which sucks.
Man! Speaking of deaths, that it's just like, oh, come on. Like, because we actually do get that whole bit when the Lost Light is in the process of disappearing, where like him and Trail Cutter kind of have a conversation about, like, his drinking problem.
Yeah.
And so, it's that's the new chief security officer. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he gets murked super fucking hard by the DJD in the worst possible way. Oh, God.
It's bad.
And it's because he has a heart of gold. That's what sucks. It's like, man, all these good characters. Like, you do the right... That's what always sucks. Those are always the most, like, bitter character deaths. Is when it's like you tried to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And you still got... It's like, oh, man.
I do love, though, where it's like, I think, because it's first aid, right? It's first aid, Blue Streak, and Trail Cutter.
Yeah.
And, they're like, they're offering to give their NJEX, and then, like, one of them tries to find out what faction he's from.
Right.
And, they're hemming and hawing about it. And first aid is like, I don't care what side they're on. This is a patient. I'm going to help them. Mm-hmm. And then he finds out he's a member of the DJD, and he's like, nope, I'm out.
Never mind. Change my mind. Fuck it. We don't help the DJD. And frankly, that is the correct choice. You don't help the DJD. Ever. But... Yes,
the Hippocratic Oath only goes so far, and it ends at the DJD. So there is a line in the sand, and it's right there.
It's anybody who hangs around Tarn ever. Oh God.
So I don't have too much about that. It is a lot of Megatron flashback with Terminus and all that.
He's so baby.
But it does lead into probably my favorite storyline for obvious reasons. The Elegant Chaos storyline.
Ben continues to be exactly the person I've always known him to be.
It's time.
AKA, it's time travel, baby.
It's time for a time heist.
Got a time travel story. Boy, again, James Roberts, buddy, the whole, like, abruptly cutting back and forth between what's going on in, like, the canon timeline and then an alternate timeline is insane.
James Roberts doesn't tell you a goddamn thing for that whole first issue where it's just Minimus and Rewind, like, in a city?
In, like, a big fancy city, and like, there's
walking
checkpoints?
And Magnus is like, I've been away for a very long time, and it's like, no, you haven't. The ship took off 6 months ago. What are you talking about?
Where are you guys? And then it turns out that Dominus is still around, and you're like, excuse me? That's like a whole thing.
Yeah, the whole point is
Shouldn't you be freaking out? Rewind, shouldn't you be freaking out more to see Dominus?
And where's Chrome Dome?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going on?
No, fuck you. You get no explanation until way later. Thanks.
You get nothing until more about the time case.
Yeah, until we actually start getting some details about, like, what's going on. It's like, oh, okay. So, which is, again, like, interesting sci-fi concepts. Again, it's this is all good sci-fi writing where it's like on Cybertron, where the I guess epicenter of the change in the timeline, it's like it's not all happening at once. It's radiating outward.
It's, yeah, and I think this is the example of basically, like, San Dimas time, it's called, based on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which is that time travel happens simultaneously.
Right.
And if you were, it happens at the speed of narration.
Yes.
And I do love that, like, they actually, like, Perceptor gives, like, a big explanation about, like, well, how do you avoid the grandfather paradox, where it's like, if you go back in time and kill someone in the past, then they won't exist for you to go back in time and want to kill them. Like, he managed to work his way around that so that he won't get swallowed up in his own time stream.
Right.
And it's just like, so it's like, now you have this, like, really clean, like, oh, well, we can do whatever we want in the past because it's paradox proof until we just stop Brainstorm.
Yeah, it's fine. So you can have kind of
you know
time travel story happening.
Well, what they're setting it up like? Like Fate Grand Order.
Shut up. Shut up. I have enough extremely convoluted fandoms to be a member of. It's bad enough. It's bad enough to to like Fate, and then you get me stuck in the Transformer hole.
But I do love a lot of Elegant Chaos because it's such just good, like, before and after, before the war and after the war characters interacting.
Right, we get the possibly one of the greatest moments in the entire series of Orion Pax and Megatron having a phone call.
Yeah, oh my god, it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good. People who see it are just like, what is this from? Why is it so good? It's from More Than Meets the Eye by James fucking Roberts. Go read it.
Just that, where the ending of it is my favorite.
I know.
The ending is,
I know.
Will you join us? I think so, eventually. It fits so well with this great dynamic because Orion thinks he's talking to a Megatron who just has strong ideals.
Yeah,
right? Like
who just recently, at least, hasn't been arrested yet.
No, not yet. Right? It hasn't happened
not yet.
But he's just like, well, so he's just like, are you still writing? And it's just like, you're still young, you're older than me, but you've still got your whole life ahead of you.
Right.
And Megatron is basically, he's talking to Pax, but he's also having a conversation with Optimus Prime.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's so good how they're having the same conversation, but it means two completely different things.
Yeah. To kind of lay out just like, I guess ultimately this idea of how things went so wrong, but also the idea that there is a redemption arc for Megatron, like that can be a thing that can be achieved, because it's like if Optimus Prime, even when he was back being, Orion Pax, says, you still have your whole life ahead of you, to this guy who's basically running away from the death penalty.
And who just had a conversation with Ravage where he's like, I'm old.
Yeah. Yeah, the spark doesn't have the same bite that it used to. Like, I am an old man at this point.
Like, even if I weren't, suffering from Fool's Energon, like being forced to take Fool's Energon, there's no way I could keep up with this.
Right.
I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. Oh, it's so good.
It's so good. It's so good to have, like, Optimus Prime say, like, no, you still have your whole life ahead of you. Basically saying you have your whole life ahead of you, no matter how long that life ahead of you is going to be. Like, if it's a year or if it's 500,000 years, like,
right.
You still have all of that time ahead of you. And you can still make something of that time, like, no matter how little or how much it is. It's like, man.
And you get so many, like, you get so many great moments in that issue too, where you get everyone, like, trying really, really hard to save Trail Cutter.
Roddy, you're a good person too, Rodimus. That's the thing that always just, like, man, I just can't stop thinking, because again, did my reread, or my skim through, not a true reread last night, but I was just flipping through pages to kind of get the cogs turning, and you have that really great scene where Rodimus is telling Trail Cutter, like, how to avoid getting killed, basically, and then there's this pause, and at this point, him and Rung have already had this conversation of his drinking. Like, this younger version of Trail Cutter mentions that he's, like, drinking, like, a crazy strong version of Enjex.
Yeah.
And, there's, like, this really awkward pause, and then Rodimus just says, you're a good person. And It's like, do you think that about yourself, bro?
Yeah.
Like, do you also think you are a good person? Like, and you kind of get the sense like maybe he doesn't, because it's said so like plaintively. I don't know. It's a little moment. It's two panels, but it's the kind of like emotional honesty of it to say so bluntly, like, you're a good person, to this guy who maybe doesn't think he's very useful. It's good. Like, you're also a good person, Rodimus. You are a good guy.
Yeah.
Who's going through, who's trying your damnedest to save, like, a single member of your crew. Like, even though it's basically impossible because of the way time travel works. It's like, man, because, they literally said on the way back, hey, you can't try to change anything. You cannot try to save anyone. And literally, the very second that Rodimus sees that one of his crew, like a crew member that he knows is doomed to die, is like, fuck that, I'm still gonna try. Fuck it. It's great.
And it's just like, it is just like, and we learn why later on, which I think is really, really fucking cool. We'll get to that in a bit at the end of the story arc. But I also really, really like just like characters in the future trying really hard not to ruin things. Because
he's trying so hard to keep things in like an orderly way.
Like, Team Rodimus like arrives in the past, and Orion is like points a gun at them.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Rodimus is like, no, guys, check it out. Check out the symbol. And they're like, what's that?
Yeah. Yeah, we're Autobots like you, and they're like, what, are you with the Senate? Like, no, dude.
And there's like, and then
don't worry about it.
Pax has that bit where he's like, Whirl? I thought you were in prison. And he's like, oh god, I am, right? Day trip.
Day trip, yeah. Oh man, it's so great.
And then like, the field they're on, the hotspot they're at, where Rewind is like, I'll bet what's going on is this. And Chrome Dome's like, you're not guessing, you're just checking your history logs, aren't you?
Yeah, but you gotta say, they're trying so hard to keep everything in order.
By the way, that is the field that Rodimus came from.
Really?
Rodimus saved his own life.
Awesome.
So good.
So good. I'm so glad you've told me this. Thank you.
And it's and so we get just the heartbreak of not being able to save Trailbreaker.
Mm-hmm.
Just like and it was just this one thing. They had a plan. They were going to do it. It's just, whatever you do, don't erase Trailbreaker's memory.
Right.
Just, we're going to tell him to stay away from this area, and then don't erase his memory. And then the very last second, he jumps in and grabs Chrome Dome's hand.
Yeah.
And it's just,
it's because you can't.
You can't.
You can't. Like, that's not gonna. It wouldn't work. It's going to self-correct, Everything that is supposed to happen will happen because it's already happened. And time travel stories make your head hurt.
And then the next issue, they go back to Shadowplay.
Oh yeah.
Like, Shadowplay
that's one of my favorite moments. Yeah, Shadowplay is literally happening the moment they're at the. They just shot for shot reuse the part with Quark and
Nightbeat.
It was Nightbeat. Yeah. Thank you. It was Quark and Nightbeat, and they're like commenting on how shady Rung looks.
Yeah, and it's like at first you think, oh, that's just Rung in the past, whatever. That's where he was. Then you find out, no,
that's our Rung.
That's present Rung who has time traveled into the past.
Is trying his best to not look shady and still which is good. I like that a lot because the preceding panel is Rodimus telling Rung, like, you couldn't get somebody's attention if you had mirrors focused on you. Like, and then he still manages, although it makes total sense that the person who notices Rung is Nightbeat, like the guy who's obsessed with solving mysteries.
Yeah.
Like, of course it is, right? Like, who else would it be?
It's thematic.
It's thematic. It rhymes. It's like poetry, but good. It's good poetry.
And then, you know, we can't talk about Elegant Chaos without talking about the curly straw.
The curly straw that started a civil war. So you have told me the curly straw story in the first episode of Pathetic Fools.
Yes.
So I knew it was coming. But it is still extremely funny to actually see it in context.
Because you don't realize what's happening unless you're, like, are privy to phase 1 and, like,
sure,
you know a little bit more about Megatron and how he came to be the way he is, right?
Right.
You know, it just kind of happens and they glance past it, but then, like, when you know what you're looking at, you're like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This is gonna
This
lead
is the
to
moment. Oh, God. That's... Okay, we have to go back. Sorry. Speaking of time travel, we gotta go back. Rewind all of this. Give us 2 seconds, folks. The part where Whirl is beating Megatron's ass on the Lost Light, the one thing that gets Whirl, like, really, really mad is Megatron being like, hey, buddy, you're the one who taught me that violence works. Thanks.
He has that fucking ice cold line where he's like, I had orders to have them let you live. Mm-hmm. Whenever Decepticons would confront you, they were not allowed to kill you.
Mm-hmm. Because he's just so thankful that Whirl taught him that violence works. You know? Whirl beat the shit out of some poor guy in a prison cell, and then 4.5 million years later, half the species is dead. Thanks, Whirl.
Good work, Whirl. You did it.
You did it, buddy. But I mean, that's part of, like, Whirl's whole hang-up, right? Like, that's literally why he's such a train wreck. Until the very end of this story, all the way at the end of Lost Light, he's still a wreck because he knows, intrinsically, that, yeah, to some degree, this is his fault. Like, nothing... It's what I was saying last episode. No war happens because one person wills it.
Right.
Like, wars don't happen because of one guy. Like, maybe it gets started because of the actions of one guy. But wars don't happen because of one single person's decision. They are cataclysmic tumbling effects that are from, you know, years and years of buildup. They don't just explode into existence overnight.
Right.
And nothing makes that more clear than, you know, you beat the hell out of one guy in a jail cell one night, and you taught him a valuable lesson.
And the only reason he was in that jail cell is because of a time travel thing.
Because of a time travel thing.
Which just show, you know, that same thing where it's just like, yeah, like, multiple events cascade to have this war break out.
Right.
Including ones that haven't happened yet. And then you think about that, and you need to go lie down.
Don't worry about it too hard. If you just don't think about it too hard, you'll come out of this unscathed. That's all I can tell you.
And
okay.
Then, so, you know, we get the arc of this ends is not that we had been led to believe that Brainstorm is a Decepticon,
mm-hmm.
and has time traveled to kill Orion Pax.
Right.
And then it turns out, he's aiming to kill Megatron.
Right. He's aiming to kill literally what we were just saying, like, it does, like, wars don't happen because of one guy. But in his head, like, he is aiming to kill, like, the apex point of the war. But then it turns out, like, yeah, Brainstorm is technically a Decepticon, but he's never actually killed anybody directly. Like, he's never shot anybody with his own hands.
Right.
Because he just... I think that comes up next issue, that he's a Decepticon of convenience, because Decepticon engineering is just better. It's just better.
Yeah, we'll get to that during he gets that trial in a later issue, but
yeah, he's never, like, killed anybody directly, and he, oh god, that whole bit with Rung is so good. Like, him talking him down from shooting Megatron, and saying, like, go ahead, just squeeze, it's fine. And it's like, are you insane? No, it's fine. Like, he knows it's not gonna happen. He saw him on the video, like, standing there for 10 minutes thinking it over.
Yeah, and then
then Rewind fucking murks him.
Rewind kills him, and then everyone's like, yeah, I guess, okay.
Yeah, there's not that much shock.
Well, like, because, like,
there's shock, but also, like,
they're trying to talk.
It coming.
They're trying to talk, Brainstorm down, right? And then, but then Rewind just does it, and they're like, oh, okay.
Well, okay.
And then you get that great moment where, like, they're like, what happened? And they're like, and someone goes, Rewind just killed Megatron, and then future Megatron is like, what?
Huh?
like that panel.
With lowercase letter, like A plus usage of typography of having that little what be in all lowercase.
Because earlier in that issue, when, like, it's revealed that, like, Brainstorm is pointing a gun at Megatron's body, he attacks Perceptor.
Yeah,
and it's like, send me back there. Send me there right now to fix it. And, like, he has to be held back by Ultra Magnus. And Perceptor is like, okay, I'm gonna let that slide, but do not ever do that to me again.
Yeah. He does the simpatico thing. You don't realize it because, and that'll come up later as well. Whatever, we're doing this out of sequence a little bit. But you don't realize it till later. But he does the thing where he puts his finger in his face.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the simpatico thing. You don't realize it until you think about it. You're like, oh, hey, cool.
But that's
a connecting thread.
And then so you get that, like, that bluster, that fear you would expect from Megatron. And then the act actually happens and Megatron's just like, what?
What? Excuse me?
Like,
am I fucked?
Like, really, really timid looking, just, like, scared.
Yeah, because again, like, what is this whole trip but a way to get away from dying for just a little bit longer? And then, oh shit. And then, the whole Rewind explaining why he did what he did, where it's like, it's like, Cybertron sucks, but the rest of the universe is a better place without us. Literally saying the rest of the universe is a better place without us as Cybertronians. Not just, like, Megatron, but, like, the whole species. It's better if they just don't go out into it.
Like, it goes back to, what do you mean the war's over? That's like saying the weather stopped, there's no more blue.
Right.
The war was not just between Cybertronians. It expanded across the galaxy. And, obviously it makes its way to Earth. But Earth isn't the only planet that Megatron tried to conquer.
Right.
Like, he brought some races to extinction.
Yeah, like, complete annihilation.
So, like, yeah, like the idea that, like, yeah, even if the Functionist timeline does suck, it's not...
For them.
That means that, for instance, Earth doesn't get overtaken. So, it's great. It's great.
Yeah, it's because, I mean, like, sure, you get it. You are essentially... You get it, but maybe you're not cool with it because you are significantly more... Again, and this is... Okay, there's so much to talk about in just, like, 2 pages of stuff going on. It goes back to this whole idea of when you're standing in front of Megatron, you can't quite wrap your head around the fact that, like, billions are dead because of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
When you are, like, looking at this cast of characters you really like, you don't necessarily care that the universe is better because Megatron is dead. You mostly care, like, you just want, like, these specific characters to be happy.
Yeah, this is what's going to lead to, well, this is going to be carried over in our Lost Light discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But it's why Megatron's redemption arc works in the context of this comic.
Sure, yeah.
Which is the exact thing you said, which is that we only care about this crew of idiots and misfits.
Mm-hmm.
And the greater scope of the universe doesn't apply to them.
Right.
And that, yeah, and that's all, like, they kind of know they have, like, a moral obligation to think of the greater good, which is why when the choice is taken out of their hands, they're like, well, I guess that would work out for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Except you've made one fatal flaw, one grave error. Somebody told Rung that the reason his life is a nightmare is because of the Functionists. And because of that, Whirl. Why did I say Rung? I'm thinking of other stuff that's happening later. Somebody told Whirl that he ended up the way he did, like, had all of his, his happiness taken away from him, basically forever, was because of the Functionists. And Whirl exists entirely on spite, which, mood.
Yeah,
I understand.
Mood. Yeah.
Absolutely. He lives entirely to spite the rest of the universe, which, absolutely. Yeah, of course. So, even though he hates Megatron's guts, and he hates the fact that he is directly responsible for the Cybertronian Civil War that decimates, billions of lives, it's like, I hate the Functionists that much more.
Yeah.
Oh, it owns.
And then you do get one of my favorite moments in this arc. Well, actually, in rapid succession, you get some of my favorite moments, which is the bit where, because they still haven't quite gotten the idea that you cannot change the future.
Mm-hmm.
So they leave that recording on, because they go to the past Lost Light and harvest its engines to get home.
Right.
And they leave that message in the past, of like, don't go to Delphi, don't open the coffin, don't look in the basement, etc., etc. And then it's like, Clonus is like, what are you
idiots?
What are you doing? All of those things had net positives for us. You would tailgate. You would be dead if we didn't do those things.
Like, literally, all of the good stuff ends as soon as this extremely specific sequence of events does not end in them stopping Tyrest, right? Like, if you do anything to disrupt them ending up at the moment they stop Tyrest, you have just obliterated another 50% of your species.
Yeah.
like every bad thing, which, hey, every bad thing happens to end up at a specific, every bad thing happens for a reason. Which is why you can't abide by Rewind taking out Megatron.
Right.
Because all the way later, at the end of Lost Light, Megatron still being alive pays off in a massive way.
It's actually super important. And this is one of those things where James Roberts, again, appeals to me directly. Because I do love time travel, right?
Yeah,
I love
it
as a story concept. I think it's great. I would never do it in real life.
Oh God, no.
You ever see, like, it's the hypothetical situation, like, if you could go back to, like, your high school time and do it all over again, what would you do different? It's like, I never want to think about that because I do not know the chain of events that got me to where I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know what parts of that are important to get me to the position I'm in now.
You have no idea what minor bad thing got you to where you are at this current point in your life. You know what I mean?
Like
what minor inconvenience kept you from getting hit by a bus?
Right? If I didn't get picked on in junior high, my parents would have never put me in a private high school. I never would have met the guys in drama that I now hang out with all the time. Mm-hmm. And I would have never developed a personality that would have convinced me to take communications classes in college that I found extremely boring. Right. And take that time to maybe chat on Tumblr with someone who is into the same manga as I am. Mm-hmm. And then I would have never met my wife.
Right, exactly. Like, you have no clue what little thing happened to you that allows you to live. You know?
Yeah.
Like, you hear so many stories about, like, all these times of people realizing that if they had been somewhere 10 minutes earlier, they would have been dead.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, no, God, no, I would never time travel. There's an 800% chance that if I did that, I would end up a dead woman in some way. Absolutely not.
Like, I stand and applaud Cyclonus for being like, you idiots!
What's wrong with you?
Do you realize how many bad things would have happened if we hadn't gone through the trouble of going to Delphi?
Yeah. Like, how many... Again, Tailgate, you're alive because bad things happened.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have... You would have died of Cybertronian old age.
You would have died of Cybertronian cancer.
That's it. You have no idea what leads you to the point you get to. And so that is why, like, even though, like, the universe is maybe better off by, taking Megatron out of the picture, like, no, it's not either. Because, again, stuff happens later. Tune in next week.
Yeah.
We have to move on.
We do. One more thing, though, because this is really cool. The events of this time travel thing, turns out there is no such thing as a paradox, because everything that happens was supposed to happen. They were always going to happen. Mm-hmm. What did end up happening, though, is
whoopsie doodle.
Perceptor accidentally invented parallel universes.
A thing that he explained. Earlier in season 1, he was like, no, parallel universes aren't possible.
Yeah,
like,
you can't.
Because of the laws of the universe, a parallel universe is not able to be. But because of some fucking around with the time stream, because, like, the alternate timeline was allowed to exist long enough, basically.
Yeah.
Like, that's the simplified version of it, is that because the alternate timeline was able to exist, as long as it did, partly because I think part of it is that Rewind remembers it, which goes back to what happens with, like, the quantum engines, where if someone is aware of it, it kind of becomes real, Mm-hmm. Because Rewind had basically a record of its history in his brain that allowed it to become real, and we get the coolest scene. One of them. There's a lot of coolest scenes in season 2. One of the coolest scenes, anyways, of, again, Functionist timeline Rung being like, go ahead, squeeze.
Yeah! Oh, God!
It's wrong!
Rung, you're not supposed to be cool.
You're actually kind of cool, my dude.
All hail the useless one.
All hail the useless one.
But that's it. We are done with elegant chaos.
God, it was chaos. How much more do we have to go?
We have a lot. We're going to be here for 3 hours at least. No. I'm sorry. It's got to be this way. Okay.
We got to go. We got to keep moving.
Next is the Permanent Evolution, which is just, Tarn and Deathsaurus teaming up.
Sure. That's an easy one. That's it. Thank God we've got an easy one.
So, because we already talked about how much Tarn actually sucks, because, he is absolutely pathetic.
Yes.
But this does have 2 great things in it. One, it's got Nickel.
Nickel owns.
Who is the best. I love her. Someone decided because, people will do, on YouTube, they'll do dramatic readings and whatnot of the dialogue.
Sure.
Someone gave her a transatlantic accent, and it's like, yes.
You did it. You found a way to make her better. I'm so proud. That's incredible. Oh my God. What a good idea.
Oh, that's perfect for her.
Perfect.
The second thing is when Tarn goes to Deathsaurus' ship and they're talking and he's like, here, Tarn, hold this. He's like, why are you walking all the way over there, Deathsaurus? And then front towards enemy.
It just gets owned immediately. That's that Decepticon loyalty right there, baby.
And then, I'm sure it's fine that these 2 groups are joining together. You do get that awesome splash page of
the whole army.
Yeah, the DJD and Deathsaurus' crew.
Yes.
And it's like, boy, Decepticons have some really, really cool designs.
Yeah, that's the problem that came up in Transformers Prime, where I got done with 2.5 seasons in a movie with that show, and all I came away thinking was, I think Decepticons are just cooler. They're just cooler, even if they suck. They're just cooler. I'm sorry. They all have better designs. They all have better personalities. At least in the kids' cartoon, not in this. The actual, in More Than Meets the Eye, the Autobots actually get to be cool, mostly because they're extremely dysfunctional.
I love that, the line between cool-looking modern Transformer, especially modern Decepticon, and Gundam is super blurry.
Yeah, no. I've said this before. Rodimus is just a Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
Okay?
His design has very clear Gurren Lagann elements in it.
Yeah, it's super obvious in this one. It's crazy.
And Deathsaurus looks like he just looks like a Gundam.
He's just a Gundam. He's got the wings like a sexy Gundam might have.
Right.
I love his design though.
It's great.
It's so solid with the 4 eyes. It's so strong. It's so pointy and I like that he is blue and gold. You get a lot of obviously purple and black Decepticons. You get some red ones too. But he kind of stands out, and Overlord is blue, but it's blue and purple and pink kind of color tones, right?
Yeah.
So it's a more cold kind of color palette. But Deathsaurus has a really cool, the gold and the blue works really well together. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
He just has a really sick design. So I wish he did more things in this comic. But
right. It's not everyone can do everything.
Not everyone can do everything. We have major characters to be more concerned about, and not just like a bit character who basically exists to own Tarn briefly and then give him an army.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So we can build some tension toward, oh God, I know exactly where this is going.
This issue is set up to make you go, ooh, that's going to be bad later.
This will be fine.
That'll cause some problems.
We get the first shot of Tarn taking off his mask. You don't get to see his face, but he takes off the mask. It is really funny to me. So, what was I? I was just on Google. I was trying to find a reference picture for something, because I was talking to somebody else about Transformers. Hi, Otzi. And I was looking for, a reference picture. And I found, an old theory thread for who Tarn is. I was just so delighted by it. Nobody knew who he was.
Everyone seemed to think he was going to be Roller.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it was, to me, that's always funny because like there were so many hints that it was going to be Roller, and I'm like, I read this thing and I got like a single hint that it was Roller.
Right.
Like I got as many hints that it was Roller that I did that it was Glitch.
Sure. Yeah, exactly.
It's one of those,
and I just thought it was just, it's funny to like come to like be, and it's weird because More Than Meets the Eye did not end that long ago.
No, Phase 1 IDW 1 ended in 2018, and IDW 2 started like early 2019.
Yeah, so it hasn't actually been that long in the grand scheme of things. So it's just funny to like still be able to stumble upon like old like theory threads and stuff. I don't know. It's fun to look back at that kind of thing with time and knowledge on your side, you know?
Yeah, it's like watching like, like live stream videos of like old E3s and stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Big reveals and whatnot, and like go back and watch like the very, very first trailer of a game that's been out for like 3-4 years or so. But yeah, so that's
it.
Yeah. Next is Our Steps Will Always Rhyme. Again, James Roberts nailing it out of the park with issue titles.
Of course, always.
This is the one with Ratchet giving everyone a good chewing out.
Yeah.
This is interesting because I have the volume open, so I'm kind of like flipping through it now. And you own IDW Volume 1, right? Like you bought that one, right? Or is that Phase 2 Volume 1?
It's Phase 2 Volume 1.
Okay.
So it's the full, it has More Than Meets the Eye and Robots in Disguise in the same book.
So I thought you had bought Phase 1 Volume 1. But yeah.
No.
If you've ever looked at like Phase 1 stuff, you'll know that the Transformers have square text boxes and a different font.
Really?
Because they're robots.
Sure, I mean, that makes sense.
And like, at some point, they just transition to regular speech bubbles.
That makes sense. I mean, like, I get why they did like the robot thing, but I think it's kind of a thing that they're not like actual. I mean, they're robots, but also no, they're not. Like, again, when I was watching, like, literally one of the first parts of Transformers Prime, like, the first episode is Optimus kind of explaining the difference to, like, just being a robot and what they are, like, it's more than just being a robot. Right. So, it doesn't make sense for them to have, like, purely robotic text boxes, because that conveys a certain tone, like a more robotic tone. And, like, that's not how any Transformer talks. Like, they don't talk in beep boops, unless you're Bumblebee.
But Prime does it and Animated does it a lot harder, but like they have like a reverb in their voices. Right. But so what's interesting is because like in this issue there's a flashback to Ratchet on Earth, like his interaction with the human characters from that. Yeah. And he uses the robot text boxes in that brief flashback. Right. And I just think that's kind of interesting because like it just sets it up as more of like a to other Cybertronians, they sound normal. But when they're interacting with humans, they have a different text box because they sound different than a person.
Right, yeah. Because they are still a, technological species versus an organic species.
Yeah. And I like that. I think that's like a neat little visual touch. And this issue also has a lot of great moments. I really, really like
little you mean like Ten's beautiful mural?
Ten's beautiful mural. That whole thing where he just like, he makes little action figures of all of his favorite people. Did you notice Swerve isn't there?
Yeah, I did notice
Swerve is not on the mural and he does not have a toy.
Yeah, I did notice that, trust me. Also, which, don't blame you, buddy.
Also, did you notice that when we were just talking about how Ratchet was not his name wasn't on the list, the fake list. And did you notice that when he asks Ten if the action figures are his favorite people. Rodimus is among them when he says, yeah, mine too.
Aww.
They're my favorite too.
I love that. I love this old man so much. He's just so... It's one of my favorite, like, little tiny, like, things in it is just the whole, like, yeah, mine too. Where,
yeah.
You know? Because, like, it's a running thing. If you haven't noticed when we talk about More Than Meets the Eye, everyone loves each other so fucking much in this comic, and it owns.
I've always said it's a series about a bunch of people who pretended to like each other so hard they became a family.
Yeah, that's exactly it. They literally, by the end of this, they all love each other, like legitimately adore each other, and you know, Ratchet is such an old grump, but at this point, like, he loves everybody so much that he looks at this mural and he looks at all of Ten's little action figures, and he's like, no, it's actually wrong that one of us isn't here.
Yeah, he even says, like, you're missing someone, but it's okay, you know, he left before you got here.
Right.
But I'm gonna go get him back.
Yeah, I'm gonna go get him back because it's wrong that they are basically missing, like, they are missing one of their family who isn't dead. Like, they just kind of shipped him off, and it's like, if one of us isn't dead, they should be here. They should be on the Lost Light. That's what you start to get, is that, like, this is where these people belong. Like, this is where they are supposed to be, and the idea that one of them not being there because of some arbitrary, like, you know, need to punish somebody for making a mistake, is not acceptable at this point. Like, it's like, no, we actually do need to go back and get our missing member.
And it is interesting because, like, you know, Ratchet does chew Rodimus out for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that you were too lenient on Brainstorm, it's that you were too harsh on Drift.
Drift, yeah.
And, you know, and the nice thing is that it feels like Rodimus already knows that. He already knows it was wrong of me to kick Drift off. Mm-hmm. Which is why he doesn't exile Brainstorm, too.
Yeah.
But
that's, I mean, just as much as Drift belongs there, like, so does Brainstorm.
And it's, but, you know, and it is that nice thing where, like, they don't mention it, but until later, where it's just like, Rodimus was just too afraid to, like, go, you know, crawling back to Drift and be like, hey, buddy, sorry.
Yeah, and I mean, like, you get it. When you wrong somebody in a big way, like, the apology is the hardest part, because there is the chance that they will just tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, and
like, there's just a chance that they're just gonna tell you to go fuck yourself.
Yeah, what do you say, you know, to, like, after you've done this horrible thing, how do you drag yourself back to them to apologize? Like, do you even deserve the chance to apologize?
Right. And, you know, if you're Rodimus, who's got brain problems, and I love him, then, like, rejection is probably the thing you're the most afraid of.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
In the world. Like, you are, like, the thing you are the most afraid of is to, like, be emotionally honest with somebody enough to say, I'm sorry, I fucked up, only for them to turn around and be like, that's nice, I don't care, get out, you know?
Yeah, and I do love the bit where Ratchet, like, goes down the list of other people, too, where it's like, stop being so mean to Ten, to Swerve, and he's like, he tells, I think it's Skids, where it's just like, go down and hang out with Rung.
Yeah.
Like,
Rung's lonely.
Not, like, as a patient, just go talk to Rung for a bit. I'm sure
because nobody ever asked Rung how he's doing.
Yeah, I'm sure Rung would enjoy just being with a friend and not, like, trying to analyze a patient for a bit. And he talks to Nautica about Brainstorm. And, like, yeah, if Brainstorm's plan had succeeded the way he wanted to, he would have erased himself from existence.
Right.
And I do love his trial, though, because it is again James Roberts flexing on his ability to set up proper timing in a comic book.
Right.
And you can easily see the trial playing out in a cartoon because there's so much happening that goes unmentioned. I love the two gags where Brainstorm's like, raise your hand if you built a time machine, and Riptide stands up. He's like, oh, a time machine.
Never mind. Yeah, there's so much good paneling in this comic that it at times reads as just a great. If I would do some dark shit for a More Than Meets the Eye comic or cartoon that just uses the comics as boards.
As storyboards, yeah, like absolutely.
Yeah.
Like just make the anime adaptation of More Than Meets the Eye.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, absolutely. Where it's just like an extremely faithful reproduction of the panels. Like, please.
And because the trial is such a good example of it because you get several panels of Rodimus trying to activate the faceplate.
Yeah.
Like, no, I got it. Don't. He's like, Magnus reaches for it. And he's like, no, I can do it.
Don't help. Yeah. Don't help me. I got it. Yeah.
The bit where he's like, I'm a worse Decepticon spy than Rung. And then they're like, kid, bad joke. Sorry. And
oh man,
my favorite bit is that so they have the nameplates. It's Rodimus has his nameplate and Ultra Magnus has his and Zaron has his. While Ultra Magnus is talking, Rodimus gets bored and starts dismantling his nameplate and putting the letters in different orders.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite gags ever.
Oh my god. Yeah, it's great. And it's good that, we learned. We learned from our mistakes. We don't kick Brainstorm out because, again, Brainstorm, had he succeeded, would have erased himself from existence.
Like he even says, like, wait, you're not kicking me off? Yeah. And Rodimus is like, do you want us to kick you off? And he says, no, this is my home.
Yeah, it's wherever this is everybody's home, god damn it. Like, this is where they live forever. We'll get to it.
We will.
Yeah, and then I like that we immediately call back to the beginning of season 2 with Rod, like with Megatron. Megatron is also sulking. He is also sulking at this point because
super hard.
He has discovered that the universe might be better off without him having ever existed in the first place. And we get that great bit where Roddy says, like, you're sulking, and he says, I'm not sulking, he says, I know, you're taking stock.
Yeah.
You're sulking. You're pouting. It's fine. It's great, we have this, there's so much, those little shots of kind of, and like, at that point, at this point, like, Rodimus, like, wants Megatron around. Like, he doesn't want him to sulk.
At this point, he's just kind of accepted it, and it's like, well, if you're gonna be here, then you need to participate.
Yeah, like, you actually have to be part of this crew, asshole. You don't get to just pout when you find out that, people are pissed at you for doing bad things. Like, wow, what a shocker. Oh no.
I'm sorry, Megatron. Would everyone be happy if you were gone? Yeah, I wonder why.
No shit, dude. You don't get to just, like, check out and excuse yourself from being a member of this crew because somebody stated the obvious. Oh, sorry, man.
You wish you were dead? Join the fucking club.
Everybody wishes they were dead, asshole. Oh, God.
Everyone's got depression, bitch. Let's get you some fruit. No, but this is one of my favorite arcs. Or not one of her, but like one of the highlights, and I think it doesn't get spoken of as much. The sensuous frame with Thunderclash's pre-wake. Once again, James Roberts just not just like leaning into the bit, just Michael Jacksoning into the bit.
Just going all out with the bit. One of the title pages, or one of the alternate covers, I suppose, is Here Lies Thunderclash, the greatest Autobot who ever died.
Just like, because they make a really big thing out of, like, in season 1 where it's very loud, it's a very nice poignant thing of, when someone close to you dies or is sick, you donate a vial of your innermost energon, right?
Right.
Like, and it's this great symbolic gesture, not symbolic, but like this great heartfelt gesture.
Sure. That
is super meaningful. And Thunderclash has enough donations that it has to spill outside of the med hall.
What a man. Truly the greatest Autobot who has ever lived.
Like the one goes up to see him and he wants to leave all of his medals behind, and they're like, well, we'll find some space on the wall for him.
Oh man. And that's more really funny Megatron and Rodimus moments where both of them are just no, I'm not going to that fucking funeral. What are you talking about? Yeah. Neither of them want to go at all.
Megatron is dealing with an existential crisis. And,
sure.
Obviously he still doesn't really care about anything else right now. He has his own business to work on. And Rodimus just doesn't like him.
Rodimus is just being petty and just doesn't like the guy.
We're going to the pre-wake, and Rodimus is like, well, have fun. It's like, but if you're not going to the wake, and I'm not going to the wake, then who's leading the storyline?
And the answer is Nautica and Skids dancing, which is such a good little moment.
And, oh my god, Skids and Nautica and Firestar.
Oh god.
Because you can just feel every bone in Nautica's body just
cringing,
just wanting to curl up in a ball and die.
She just goes haha, still hate that nickname.
Yeah.
Just trying so hard to keep it together, be polite.
We became friends because we had to, and you are very clearly doing better than me. And I'm a little jealous, and I'm a little irritated.
I really wish you would stop stealing my thunder and hogging all the spotlight in the room, but you literally have flaming hair. By the way, Miss Firestar, please call me. What's up?
I think someone asked James Roberts, what would happen if Firestar and Rodimus met? And it's they would instantly hook up and then probably die.
Like a pair of praying mantises.
Just no one is ready for that much literal flamboyant energy.
Oh god, horrible mental image. No. Keep those two as far away from each other as physically possible. And what else? There's a lot of little things in this one that I really like. Dancing, Ravage freaking out. With we hadn't talked much about Ravage, but Ravage owns.
Ravage is great.
Love Cat that doesn't want to be treated like a cat and is mostly just mean to everybody, like a real cat.
Like a real cat, yeah. We didn't talk about it, but during Slaughterhouse when Nautica treats him like a baby.
He immediately claws at her, don't touch me.
But, and then later on when she's, they're like, we need 2 small bots to activate the engines to turn this all off. And they're like, before you volunteer, Ravage, you need regular hands. You can't have little kitty cat paws. And Ravage is like, I will kill you.
Oh god, he's great. No, it's awesome. Again, continuing the theme of they're robots, we can do whatever we want to them, so we can have charisma bugs eat them.
Horrible parasites, devour them from the inside out.
Drilling holes into their faces, Skid's having a real bad time. Normal stuff. They're robots, it's fine.
And
the whole situation is resolved when Megatron and Roddy walk into the room because there's just too much charisma coming off the two of them.
My favorite thing My favorite thing about that whole storyline is it's literally in one panel where it's like, because, they figure out, it's all the characters, they figure out what's going on and how to solve it. And then it's revealed that no one actually called Rodimus and Megatron. The ones who did were Flex and Borer. Who are characters that have just never shown up before.
They're just nobodies.
Because they were immune from it. They weren't affected by it because they have nothing going on for them.
They have literally no charisma because they are complete and total nobodies.
They didn't do anything like super flashy or like daring to figure it out. They didn't have like a big dramatic reveal. They just deduced the solution and called who they needed to call.
And it was instantly solved by those two walking in the room. It's amazing.
Oh, it's great. I love it.
Next.
Hey, I wonder what happens in this one. It's the one where they go to Earth.
Oh, yay! Oh, this one's such a good one.
This one's great.
This one's good, and I'm not going to be a weirdo. I'm making a solemn vow right now.
I'm going to be a little bit of a weirdo about it, for one thing.
Okay.
Why did they make Blue Streak so hot?
What? Yeah, okay, let's be a weirdo for a second. Yeah, why is Blue Streak so hot? What's going on?
And obviously Megatron is too. Well, let's throw it out there. Obviously.
Fine, just get it out there. Yeah, he's super hot. It's fine. He's an old man. He's got a cane. And he's got red eyes. But spicy.
Megatron is hot in the way that feels like a character. He wears a big long coat and he has a cane.
Sure.
And he's got like scars and everything. It's like, oh, that's like a protagonist, right?
Sure, absolutely.
And like Rodimus is also pretty attractive, but he looks like Judd Nelson and he's wearing like an 80s outfit and like
he's dressed like Marty McFly.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, well that's a character,
Sure.
Cyclonus is an old Victorian woman.
Excuse me, a handsome human woman, as he explains it.
Tailgate is a toddler now. He grew up.
He got a little bit older now that he's kind of realizing what's going on with the world.
And Nautica is also cute, but she's like a mechanic. She's wearing like overalls and has like a utility belt, right?
Right.
Blue Streak is just like a really, really hot chick.
Just a super hot girl, who just looks really cool, and it's like okay. Hey, I will say they changed Rung's design.
Yeah,
from his first human iteration.
He does look a little bit different, and also Skids turned to the 9th Doctor instead of the 11th.
Skids turned to the 9th Doctor. Yeah. Skids, please stop watching Swerve's TV. I'm begging you, buddy.
I love that. What were the 3 names for Skids' or Swerve's counterparts? It was Jerry, Ted, and Sheldon, right?
Yes.
Yes, because...
Yes? Those are all sitcom main character names.
Yeah, Father Ted, Big Bang Theory, and Seinfeld. But
Yeah.
This is just such like a really clever issue. Also Nightbeat is Idris Elba in this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he plays a detective in some show. Yeah,
it's a BBC show. I know what you're talking about. Luther?
I think it is Luther,
maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. Did it. But yeah, so... But no, it's just like a fun story. Will you please go to Mama's room? Thank you. Sorry, my dog is hovering. Did I lose you?
No, I'm still here.
Okay, good. I was worried for a second there.
Yeah.
No, it's just a blast. It's mostly, I love it. I respect any time they're like, we just feel like giving them human forms.
Yeah.
That's it. It's part of why this exists. It's because they just really wanted to give everybody some human forms.
Like, it's just like the artist was just like, drew a bunch of human forms and he's like, I want to use these for something. Let's have an issue where they can use them. Yeah,
Alex Milne had a bunch of human designs and he wanted to draw a handsome human woman. And they're like, alright, fine. Why not? Let's do it. And it owns. Looks great. Comic rules.
It's so cool. I love it.
It's just like a fun, goofy, like more, isolated story, I guess.
Yeah, it's just a one-shot. It's just one issue long.
Yeah.
And, but, like, it's... Also, like, in the trade paperbacks, like, you get... because if in the single issues, Swerve has been handling the recaps, obviously. Like,
right.
he's been doing the narration. But, like, in the trade paperbacks, they don't have the recaps, because you're just reading the next issue right away. So, for this volume alone, they put them back in so that the joke in this issue would work.
Right. So that everybody would understand, like what's going on.
Yeah.
Or why they're doing this. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, it's great. I love it. I love the sitcom opening that's just the Cheers theme. With, like, shots of previous issues.
Different covers and stuff, yeah.
Oh, it's
and
great.
Listing out all the writers and artists that way. It's amazing. It's amazing.
Oh, I love it.
Okay.
But that leads into the next biggest fucking thing, though. That leads to the not knowing.
Oh,
that leads
okay.
to the most impactful moment probably in this entire comic.
Okay.
That fucking
So, like, this is... If you have, like, any kind of vague interest in, like, Transformers or More Than Meets the Eye, if you've ever seen any, like, art for More Than Meets the Eye, there's, like, a single question. What's up with the blue flowers? And we get that.
Yeah, we learn what that is about, and oh god,
boy.
holy shit! This is an amazing issue because it is a lot of fun. Like in general, it's
fun.
lot of fun lore. And
Who's the artist who does this one? It's that Japanese artist whose name I cannot remember.
Sakamoto. Like it's on the spine of the volume. Let me see if I can find.
I think it's Sakamoto. I think that's his name.
It is Hayato Sakamoto.
Okay. Yeah, great artist. We'll actually come back to them and just like their art in just a second when we talk about like Skids' backstory.
Yes.
So hang on to that. We'll come back to Sakamoto. The important part here though is that they have a very kind of almost cutesy, like a cuter kind of look.
Yeah.
Like every time they draw Rodimus is like, yes, I'm alive again. They're so cute. But, like, it works really well because it is very obviously, like, draws a lot of influence from anime and manga.
Right.
And it's just,
You see a lot of poses and facial expressions you don't see in Western comics.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of really clean lines and all very, like, expressive stuff, which is important for what happens at the end. I mean, there's, like, a lot of fun stuff in this, like, overall. You know, we go to the Necrobots world.
It's a lore builder, and I love the Necrobots design.
Oh, it's really, really good.
Super sharp. Like, it's so different.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. The Necrobot looks like what Bayformers could have looked like.
Yeah, if they had like a better designer instead of somebody just trying to make me unhappy.
Yeah. Like if you wanted to do like a more like I don't know how to describe it, like flexible, not so like boxy.
Boxy, yeah.
But not like sleek, but like
I know what you're saying.
Articulate, that's
like,
it. Like more
articulate, yeah. Because like there is something that kind of, I mean, eventually that gets proven wrong with like the Bumblebee movie where like the actual boxy versions of these designs work perfectly well in a like a physical space. But like at the time you get it.
Like if you wanted to do that kind of aesthetic for these characters, you can do it and still make them look, iconic and representative. And the Necrobot is a good example of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you just get a lot of fun lore exploration. You get a lot of good development for Nightbeat and for stuff like that. And because Nightbeat has been this wacky character, and then you get stuff about like I died, and that was it. I solved that mystery, and then I came back. Now what do I do?
Yeah, what do I do with myself? I like him kind of, like, giving the Necrobot, like, a bit of a chew out.
Yeah.
Like, you know? Like, hey, you have the ability to do something. Do something.
Yeah, it's, you know, you always get these, like, mythical things, like, I have to be impartial. Mm-hmm. You know, I cannot change fate. It's like, why? And it's like,
Yeah, exactly. You don't have an answer. There is no reason. It's just because you think that's the right way to do it. But like, no, there's other options. You can at least save the people who were lost.
Yeah.
Which we'll come back to that.
And but you know, and we learn a really, really cool thing that's like, this is for fan art exclusively.
It literally exists just for fan art. Like, God bless their souls. That's literally why it exists.
Yeah. They go to a planet where every Transformer has a statue with blue flowers around it. And those blue flowers represent every Transformer that died either directly or indirectly as a result of them.
Right. And hey, guess who's a member of the Lost Light now?
Guess who has a pretty big field of blue flowers?
Just like the most incredible 2-page spread, like in the whole series, probably. Because it's just like so stunning to like when the camera pulls back and it's like just one. It goes forever. It's literally, it goes to the horizon.
Yeah, it's just never ending.
Yeah, like there are no other statues around Megatron.
My favorite thing about that shot is that the Hollow Matter statue is Megatron of Tarn.
Yeah, when he was just a little baby minor.
When he was a minor. When he had the caution strips all over it. And it's so good because that's him.
Yeah, that's who he still is.
There's no point in which you became a different person. Mm-hmm. All of this is still on your hands.
Yeah.
No matter what. There is no... You never change. There's no going back. You are what you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no delineation between like Megatron of Tarn and like Megatron the Dictator.
Yeah.
Like those are the same person. Like, yes, no matter how like noble your intentions were at the beginning, and they were. I mean, like, yeah, in the beginning Megatron was super right. Like, make no mistake, I'm still gonna get that T-shirt. Megatron was right. But like, no matter how like noble those intentions were, like that's still, you know, that's still who you are, and that's how far from who you are that you are now. You know,
yeah.
Like the difference between who you are and who you wanted to be, the disparity between those two, and like how you started, it's like all kind of laid out right there. You know, you have like this young version of himself, and like all however millions and billions of people who are dead as a result of his actions. Is like it's all tied together. It's all the same thing.
Like Megatron of Tarn, Lord Megatron, and Captain Megatron are all the same.
They're the same person, yeah.
He doesn't get to take refuge in his youth. Like before this happened.
Right.
He doesn't get to do that. He doesn't get that luxury. He has to accept that this is who he's always been. It's great. I love it.
That's so good. It's so good. Like, oh, that's when that is the, you know, it's like, you know, you have those like moments when you're reading a comic and you got to put it down and like walk away for a while. Like, yeah, I put it down. I had to walk away and just kind of like work through everything you're feeling in those moments.
And it's so great because like you get this great build up until that page just punches you in the face, where the Necrobot says like, there isn't a statue here that doesn't have at least one or two flowers around it.
Right. Yeah.
it doesn't matter because this war was so all-consuming. All of you are guilty.
Yeah, like, all of you are killers. Like, everybody has killed somebody directly or indirectly as the result of this war. Like, nobody gets away unscathed. Which is, like, really, again, there's something kind of interesting there, going back to, like, the time traveling thing. And how, like, you know, to a degree, like, maybe the universe is technically better off. Like, that's the question that's getting asked, right?
Yeah.
Like, all the time. Is the universe better off without the Cybertronians in it? And then, like, this is just a further... It's not even necessarily answering the question. It's just saying, like, here is another point to take into consideration. Like, this is, like, a species that, in general, seems to only know how to do one thing.
What do you mean the war's over?
It's like saying...
The weather's gone and there's no more blue.
There's no more... Yeah.
Like, that line, I wish...
is gonna haunt me for, like, the rest of my life, yeah.
You know, I wish that was just, like, one of, like, the most popular, like, iconic lines. To me, it is, like, one of the best lines in the run.
Right.
Because it's so applicable to everything. And
it's said so casually.
Yeah.
It's a joke line.
Yeah.
Like, it's said as part of, like, a gag story, not like a gag storyline, but like a goofy cast of characters, you know? It's from the fucking Scavengers.
And, yeah, but, like, the more you think about it, like, the more it applies to these situations. It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in a like, I guess, like, impartial third-party view... The Cybertronians just suck. They
just kind of suck.
They've been at war forever, and their war spills out and involves everyone else around them. And they just constantly drag other species and planets into their conflict that goes on for millions and millions of years.
Yeah, and because they are all mechanical and all of the species they drag into it are organic, it's like... a conflict that you bring to, like, an organic planet, like, will affect literally just dozens of generations of that planet. Whereas you will continue to persist, you know? Like, you will survive through all of this and keep going because you are a robot who can be repaired. But, like, organic things can't be repaired like that. Like, it's not that easy. You can't just, you know, staple your arm back on.
Right.
It's a lot more complicated than that.
Unless you're Ethan Winters. I've been playing RE8 lately. It's a good game. We'll get to that later.
That's next month. Don't worry about it. Sit tight. We'll be back to regular scheduled content soon enough.
But, yeah, but, like, you know, I feel like the flower... You know what? It's fucking... Hey, what color is the flower field?
Blue. Yeah.
That's like saying there's no more blue.
No more blue. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Just...
Oh, it's good. James...
It's so good.
You know what? We haven't said it outright. James Roberts is a phenomenal writer.
He's an excellent writer. Like just fantastic. Everything ties back into each other super well. The setup and pay... Like... To me, I think being able to nail setup and payoff is one of the, like, most important things of, like, good serial writing.
Yeah,
like,
some of the best moments, like the most memorable things to happen in, like, media or whatever, you know, in anything, is when you drop a line and my reaction is, I've been waiting for that for 11 years.
Yeah, I've been waiting for that, for this, like, emotional through line to resolve. And it's not just like, oh, hey, they reference the thing, but more so just like, you set up something and you keep paying it off. It keeps kind of, like, it keeps folding back in on itself to, like, further hammer home a specific point. Like, whatever the fuck you're trying to say in your story, like, you are using, like, setup and payoff to say that. He's super, super good at that. That's the point I'm trying to make, is that, like, he's just phenomenal at constantly, like paying off emotional through lines, not even necessarily like references.
Right.
It's not just about like making a reference.
Yeah, it's the payoff of it. It's just the holy shit. I didn't even realize that was a thing you needed to call back to, and yet here we are.
Yeah, it's great. Like he's fantastic. The whole run is just so solid. Let one guy write it.
Yeah, let one guy write your entire comic book so that he can do the things he wants to do with it.
That's it. That's all it is. Let one guy write your whole comic book so that when it's all said and done, you have an incredibly cohesive story that is the vision of one person and not a bunch of different hands trying to write a story. Crazy, I know.
It works somehow.
But yeah, no, I just like eternally just think about like that giant ass field of flowers basically forever.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because it's just so like, it's just, again, there's no dialogue. It's just this incredibly like quiet moment of realizing that it's just like, it's a sea that stretches on forever in every direction. It's crazy.
And it's super helped by the fact that Ravage is there to observe it too.
Yeah,
because
of course.
he has been struggling with
this decision as well.
That, you know, and to see it spelled out that way, you know, is like, helps him to understand why Megatron made the decision he made.
Yeah, like why he is doing this is because of like this flower field is like, that's what gets to be his legacy forever. Yeah. There's literally no good deed he could do to make up for it. And he does good things like over the course of the story. Like, he does good things and he's trying to be a better person. There's literally nothing he could do to ever make up for it.
How could you possibly ever balance those scales?
Never. It's literally impossible.
Like, so, but you have to keep trying.
Absolutely, you have to keep trying, and like, giving up at that point would be the more cowardly thing to do.
Exactly.
You know? And so that, like, having Ravage be there to kind of like soak it all in and understand, like, hey, this is why this is not just a moral, this isn't a wobble.
Yeah.
This is a permanent thing.
Yeah, this isn't the next step in his brilliant plan. This isn't you know, just a hiccup in his progress. This is the path he's taking now.
Yeah. It's so good. It's
so good.
It's so fucking good.
And so, meanwhile, thousands and thousands of light years away, the Scavengers are having their own adventure.
The Scavengers are also here.
That's one of the best intro pages of all time.
Oh. Yeah, it's called a perspective trick.
While I try to establish a makeshift vantage point. The bit where they're talking about how, like, they need to play Jenga to save the universe, but the sad thing is they won't remember it when it's done. Or the part where they're toys on the lawn, and they're like, I know what's happening, I want to make it unhappen.
My god.
I'm so mad that so many of the Scavengers haven't gotten toys since the 80s because I want to recreate that shot so badly.
I know.
It's so not fair. I only own 3 and one of them is Grimlock, who doesn't technically count.
That's too easy. There's too many Grimlocks in the world.
I have a Croc and I have a Spinister.
Oh, okay.
I want a Misfire so badly.
I know. I'm sorry.
Shell
out however many hundreds of dollars.
The only crankcase that exists is a Movieverse crankcase, and he looks awful. It sucks.
No. Boo.
But no, I do love some of my best friends are Autobots.
Yeah.
I love the intro with them playing Nerf battles.
Yeah, dart battles, and they're all just like covered in darts.
And Misfire is like or not. It's was it Misfire or Croc who like has the internal monologue going? I think it was Misfire.
I think it's Misfire. Yeah, no, it's Misfire.
Yeah. right?
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
And it's such a difference between, like, the Lost Light, which is a really well put together ship, and, like, you know,
yes,
super fancy and all that. And then you cut to the Weak Anthropic Principle, and it's just, they're like...
it's such a huge piece of shit.
It's such this garbage dumpster ship.
It's just the worst. And it's falling apart. Nobody takes care of anything.
No one's gotten proper maintenance in forever. Grimlock keeps breaking things. Like,
he's making a mess out of everything. He's not quite all there.
They're fighting. They're getting mad because, like, who took the last NGEX? I very clearly labeled it. They just have a mini fridge.
Yeah, they don't have, like, a whole bar. Like, they don't have the fancy...
They don't have a Smurfs.
The Lost Light has 2 bars.
It does.
It's big enough to have 2 whole bars because it has enough people on it to have a second bar. Like... They don't get that. They have a mini fridge, and they argue over who took the last NGEX, you know? Like, they're not having a good time. I mean, they are having a good time in their own way. They are having fun, at least. Good for them.
They're so... I love the contrast between the DJD and the Scavengers. I just love...
Oh, God.
The DJD are so, like, well-designed for extermination. Like,
absolutely.
Every aspect of their design is meant for intimidation and for raw power, right? Compared to just
these idiots.
These bunch of just, like, bottom of the barrel, nothing going on for them. Spinister's propellers are busted. Crankcase has, like, a chunk cut out of his head.
Yes.
So, like, even if Spinister did transform, he couldn't fly. His propellers are broken.
His propeller, they're all just, and then, like, you know, they've got Grimlock, who's just a wreck, you know, like...
Oh, I do love when they're trying to, like, you know, help him out, and one of them's just like, who did this to you, buddy?
Yeah. Oh, buddy. Oh, Grimlock, buddy. Everybody has a bad time in this comic one time or another.
Yeah, I do, you know, this arc is just kind of like, you know, it's the Scavengers, they're still out here doing stuff.
Getting in trouble.
We get to see Fort Max again, which is nice.
That's nice, good for him.
And it does have the great scene where Crankcase tries to bluff Fort Max.
Yeah.
They're like, he's like, I don't believe you, I'm waiting for your tell. And, like, he doesn't flinch at all. Because his face locked up.
His face locked up, that's it. Yeah, he just kind of wasn't able to move his face at that exact moment. It was perfect. And actually able to scare Fort Max off so that they can live to scavenge another day.
And, you know, this is their, like, kind of heel face turn. Because, like, last time we saw them, they had literally cold blood executed an Autobot that they were using as a bonfire.
Right.
And now they're like, we can't just leave all these, like, weird lobotomized Cybertronians to their fate.
Right. Yeah, it's good because they're kind of like realizing, like, hey, the war's over. Like, what are we gonna do with ourselves now? Like,
it actually kind of sucked to be the bad guys.
It sucks to be the bad guys, and there's a lot of other people out there who were bad guys, and their lives are also probably pretty hard. So, like, you're starting to see the ghost of, like, a conscience form in these idiots. And, like...
They're just like, I don't know what to do with this. Ah.
Oh, God!
What's this weird thing?
I'm feeling things again, you know? Like a 14-year-old boy. Dude, I feel things every single day of my life.
Are you saying you don't have feeling?
That's it. Yeah, and so they're like, you know, they're kind of trying to work their way to, like, their own sort of morality. And their own sort of sense of, like, genuine companionship between all of them.
Because, like, they're just like, you know... Even they take a vote to, like, whether or not to sell off Grimlock, right?
Right.
And even the ones who decide to sell him off, like, yeah, they're interested in the money, but they're also like, we can't take care of him.
Right, like he's a mess. He's a wreck. He's having a bad time.
We get paid a lot of money, but also we don't have the ability to give Grimlock the care he needs anyway.
Right. And it's like, we're starting to kind of see that you can't, like, that's kind of like again, all of these things go back to themes. Like, people can change.
Yeah.
You can literally just wake up one morning and go, I want to be a better person.
Yeah,
like, that's it.
It is just that easy, actually.
It actually is that easy that you can just decide, I want to be a good person now. Like, I want to stop hurting people. I want to stop lying and cheating and being shitty to everybody around me, because it makes me feel bad. So I want to be good instead. You actually can, like, change. Not everybody is going to accept that change, mind you, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't try.
Yeah, you still have to start somewhere.
Yeah, you gotta start. And, like, for the Scavengers, like, this is where they start. And, we set them up as a bunch of stupid asshole Decepticons who somehow stumbled onto saving Grimlock. And, like, now we come back to them and we're getting, like, the next little step in their kind of emotional arc for the entirety of the story, and it will resolve later.
Yes. And yeah, they even set off, like, let's just go start helping people now.
Yeah, like, you can do that.
They're just like, what if we help people? And then the rest of them are just like,
huh?
Oh.
What? You actually don't need a license to just go out and start helping people.
Yeah.
Like Prowl does not have to sign your library card for you to go be a good guy. You know what I mean?
I'm just, like, imagining just, like Misfire, like, just looking completely baffled and lost as he, like, takes a kitten out of a tree and, like, gives it to a little girl, and he's like, we can just do this?
You can just do this now, actually. Nobody is gonna show up and write you a ticket for helping somebody. You know what I mean?
This is allowed?
Now, mind you, there's an 85% chance that Prowl will try, because Prowl is an asshole. Did we talk about Chrome Dome throwing Prowl off a cliff?
I think we did, but if it's worth mentioning again that Chrome Dome did chuck Prowl off a cliff, and it was great.
It owned.
There is another point in Robots in Disguise where Optimus beats the shit out of Prowl, and it is also pretty great.
How did you not... Bro! You have to tell me those kind of things, because that actually will make me read Robots in Disguise faster.
And then, did you read the two very, very last issues of More Than Meets the Eye? They're not on this list here, but it's the ones where with Fort Max on Luna 1 and Prowl shows up and brings, like, a heap of trouble. I don't think it's included in the volumes. I think it is tied into because it's part of the Combiner War story arc.
Oh, then no,
okay.
I think I missed that.
Yeah, there is a bit where, like, as a result of what's happening in Combiner Wars, like, Prowl ends up on Luna 1.
Okay.
And when he pops through a portal, Fort Max kicks him.
Oh, I have seen those pages where he says, stand up, I'm not fighting a car.
Get up, I'm not fighting a car.
Prowl's just like, what's the line? He says,
I've hacked off so many people I can't remember, but whatever it was incredibly farsighted and will pay off in, Garrus 9, that was it.
Yeah, that's it.
He probably thought you were dead. Yes, that's it, I probably thought you were dead.
Oh, God. Fuck Prowl.
Fuck
Yo,
Prowl.
all of these episodes end the same way. Like, what up? Fuck Getaway. But also, fuck the police. fuck Prowl.
Prowl is a cop in a series where half the cast is also cops.
And it's incredible that he's the most cop of them. I mean, like, he's a literal cop because he's a cop car, but he's also a spiritual cop because he sucks so much.
You know how, like, a lot of, like, cartoons, like, especially, like, in the mid-aughts and whatever, like, the cops are the good guys because, like, of course they are, but, like, it's kind of that, like, harmless way where it's like, yeah, we're not going to explore the nuances of police brutality and overreaching power struggle in this cartoon for babies.
Right. It's not like a thing they think about too hard. Yeah. It's just
it's
just the result of like a couple decades of propaganda just kind of getting its fingers even into stuff that people don't think about. Like, it's not a conscious decision, you know what I mean?
It's like in animated, like, half the Autobots are police vehicles and they work with the police because it's like, well, yeah, they're gonna.
It's just like a thing that nobody really thinks about. Like, you know, like there's actually a whole really interesting story about propaganda, about how it came to be, like the way it is now, where it's like so ubiquitous, and it has to do with fucking Bonnie and Clyde, like the 1970s movie Bonnie and Clyde, and what's that revenge movie that from the 70s? Is it Death? It's not Death Wish. Dirty Harry. That's it. Thank you.
That's it. Yep.
Anyways, there's like a whole history tied behind it. But the point is that like cops ended up being good guys in like American media because of like a decades-long propaganda campaign that culminated until like 5 years ago. You know?
Right.
And so like cops are just kind of good guys by default in comics and like kids' cartoons because they don't think about it too hard. All of this to say that it's staggering that Prowl is an asshole in literally everything, despite the fact that, like, so much propaganda should be working in his favor.
Right? Like you know, there's a difference between in animated, the Autobots have a human ally who is a police detective because he gets to be a grumpy old man, and it's funny. Mm-hmm. And, like, you know, actual, like, purposeful propaganda.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, Prowl is a massive asshole.
Yeah. And, you know, Prowl in this is a cop. Like, it's intentional that he's written this way.
Yeah, he sucks because he is a cop.
Yeah.
Like, the reason Prowl sucks is because Prowl is a cop. Like, full force, that's why Prowl sucks ass. If Prowl stopped being an asshole, he would also stop being a cop, but he can't. And that's why Chrome Dome throws him off a cliff.
It's great.
We lost the thread here.
We did. Anyway.
It's fine. Fuck Prowl.
Speaking of characters who need to fuck off, it's time to talk about the lopsided triangle.
Yay!
Which is, there's one weird thing about this issue that I never quite got, which is, the coloring of it. Because up until now, it's basically been confirmed the Lost Light's interiors are like kind of like a light beige-ish gray.
Sure.
And in this episode, they're very dark. In this issue, they're very dark metallic colored.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to flip through to where I am. What am I on? Where's my volume?
This should be volume 9, I believe we're on.
Yeah, we are. Okay. Keep talking.
It's just like, and it's one of those things like I always just thought like stuck out to me where it's like, the interiors don't look like they used to.
Yeah, that's just don't worry about it. Yeah, that's a tone thing.
It is, but it's just like one of those things, just one of those like things I noticed early on reading through it. I'm like, that's not what the Lost Light looks like.
That's not what my house looks like. This is not my beautiful house.
But this is a good issue. This is a really, really, really good issue or two. For one reason that I like that stands out to me, which is Whirl absolutely tearing Cyclonus down.
Yeah.
Like, you and I, we love a good, this is the bright, peppy one, and they're going to hook up with the dark, brooding one, right?
Absolutely.
It's a good dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what makes that dynamic actually work? Is when the dark brooding one actually shows some affection and care to the bright peppy one. And
Cyclonus, buddy.
And if you don't do that, eventually the bright peppy one is gonna lose interest.
Yeah, like Whirl is right. Like
it's just like, I love it because he's like, I saved his life. Oh, so what? He owes you now?
Yeah.
It's like we share a room, like, so he's not allowed to have other friends.
Yeah, like, again, so what? Like, okay, because I found it finally.
Yeah.
Here's a thought. Maybe he just likes Getaway more than you. Would anyone find that surprising? What can you offer him apart from your guaranteed disapproval and a face like a funeral? All you do is stare out the window. My advice to you, get over it, because he's clearly over you. And let's face it, he's better off with the other guy. Which is wrong, but, for the most part, Whirl is right.
But, like, in the perspective, like, yeah, like, what did Cyclonus tell Tailgate when he was dying and wanted to go to Luna 1 in hopes of finding a cure for his deadly disease?
Never hope. Yeah.
Do you think maybe that wasn't helpful?
Like, maybe eventually, like, no matter how, and it's, like, super obvious that Tailgate is like, madly in love with Cyclonus, right? Like, he's very attached and feels like very connected to this extremely grumpy samurai skeleton. But like, eventually, if you don't get any reciprocation for that affection, they're gonna move on.
Yeah.
They're not gonna sit around on their hands forever.
We saw it earlier on where, Tailgate kept trying to pull Cyclonus out on the dance floor.
Right.
And by the time he finally broke down and decided to do it, Tailgate had found someone else.
Because... Although I will say, like, they super nail the feeling like kind of inadequate, and then like a creep latches onto you and makes you feel special.
Oh, that's another reason this is so fucking good.
I know, because like, this is the thing that's been established, like, we haven't been talking about it because there's a lot of other, like, big picture stuff that's been going on, but the B plot, like the C plot, really, that's been going on in the background for the entirety of season 2 is that, like, really early on, Getaway befriends Tailgate and immediately gets, like, too chummy too fast, right? If you've ever been with, like, a creep who tries to befriend you too fast, and I think everybody has this, like, this is a universal experience, that's what's happening, where, like, they try to get too familiar with you too early. And, like, because Tailgate is feeling kind of, like, emotionally distanced from this person who he thought he was having, like a connection with. Like, they were, at that point, like, he thought they were kind of over the hump of, like, all of Cyclonus's, like, emotionally closed off nature.
Right.
Because Cyclonus did save his life in, like, a big emotional moment. But, like, no, your problems don't really go away that quickly either.
You still have to put in the groundwork to, like,
you still have to put in the effort.
Like,
being in a relationship.
Yeah, and it's so, yeah, Getaway is, like, manipulating Tailgate, and he is, like, being a huge creep about it, right? Mm-hmm. And yet Whirl is still right, and I just love that because, like, it just harkens back to that thing where it's like, and it's one of those, like, fandom affirming things, kind of like the I need to live to make amends bit, and First Aid going, we are allowed to just kill him. It doesn't make us worse at the same level as him. We're still better than him, and he doesn't win because he's dead.
Right.
It's that same thing where it's like, if you're going to make two characters and they're going to fit, like, a relationship archetype, you still need to do the work to make them actually like each other.
Yeah, like, you can't just say these two characters are in a relationship now. You have to, like, put in the groundwork to show them being a functioning couple. And to a degree, like, you know, Cyclonus is not doing... And, I mean, he explains himself later. We'll get there.
Yes.
But, like, to a degree, you know, he's not putting in the work. And, yeah, you can hardly blame Tailgate, who's probably feeling, like, you know, rejected and confused, because rejection sucks, to latch onto somebody who, like, is showing him affection. And because Getaway is an actual predator, like, capital P, a literal predator, he's able to, like, take advantage of that emotional vulnerability and come up with the plan that's probably made me the angriest reading anything in a really long time.
Oh, it sucks.
It directly involves 4 of my 5 favorite characters, which is just incredible.
It's nearly everyone that you are really, really attached to, and it would ruin all of them.
Yeah, it would literally make all 4 of their lives significantly worse, and or just kill them, if it had worked out the way that Getaway wanted. Because, like, Getaway's plan, because I know there are people who like listen to this like our podcast and don't like watch or read the stuff we talk about, which is fine. Like, Getaway's plan is to... So they've, like, established early on, we didn't really talk about it that much because, again, big picture stuff. They established early on that Megatron is terrified of pneumosurgery, right? Because of some really fucked up stuff that happened to him when he was a young man. And, like, he reacts extremely violently in the presence of it. So, the plan is to trick Tailgate to try to, like, do a type of, like, pneumosurgery to Megatron, under the guise of, like, fixing him,
I
like,
think
not
calls
realizing
it, like, the like anti-villain formula.
Right. So, you know, under the guise of fixing him and making him better. But the actual plan is just that Megatron is going to wake up and literally freak out so bad because Tailgate is just a little mini baby that he'll just kill him because he freak out that badly. And I mean, yeah. And then, you know, security will roll in and they will light Megatron up. Yeah. So, like, that's the plan. It's literally just a way to get back at Megatron.
And you know, getting Megatron off the ship probably a good idea in you know, neutral observation perspective.
Sure.
But sacrificing Tailgate to do it is a no-no.
That's a big no-no, and Whirl is instantly like, you know, because Whirl is in on it. He's aware of the plan.
The reason he picked a fight with Megatron in the first place was for that purpose. We're already hatching a plan to provoke Megatron to get him kicked off the ship. Right.
You know, and so it directly, like, is just, it's just gonna hurt all of my favorite characters. It would hurt Roddy too, because, you know, Roddy likes all these people, so that's all 5 of them. And yeah, it's just like, I love this issue. It's one of my, it's top 5. Because there's a lot of really good stuff going on in it in such a short amount of time.
Yeah, oh yeah, there's so much, like, ups and downs going on here. Revealing the plan, seeing Getaway for what he really is, the conversation between Whirl and Cyclonus, especially that bit where, you know, he's like, well, like, the thing that convinces Whirl to back off is when Cyclonus is like, you're the only person on this ship who I know will be honest with me.
Right.
Because we're not friends.
Yeah. And realizing that, like, maybe I do want to be friends with you. And maybe I don't want to hurt you. Like, I actually want to help you. Like, again, it's that slow process of everybody becoming, like, a family.
Oh, when Whirl gets hit with the
nudge gun?
The nudge gun, and his allomatter is jumping around the ship.
Like, trying to... Like, he's confused because he doesn't really know what's going on, but he knows, like, something is wrong, and he's just trying to find Cyclonus to signal to him that something is wrong.
And
That shot of his hollow matter outside the ship is like...
Yeah.
Is so friggin' good.
You know, choking, suffocating outside.
Yeah.
Oh, it's great.
And just trying to signal that, like, hey, something is really, really wrong here, and you need to, like, wise up. The shot of, like, all the clocks in his room.
Oh, set to 113. Oh, it's good.
Mm-hmm. So good.
So, by the way, you'll notice 113 occurs a lot in more than
BSky. I did notice that.
Yeah. That's because issue 113 is the first issue of Marvel UK Transformers that James Roberts ever read.
Oh, okay.
And that's good. That's what got him on this path in the first place.
Okay, so it's a very important number in that case. Awesome. Yeah, but like, just, and it just builds, again, we have, because I'm like scrolling through it as we talk about it, like there are multiple pages of no dialogue, of just like action shots and you know, culminating in like, man, fuck Getaway.
Fuck Getaway. I keep
saying it, but like, how fucking dare you involve, like, look, this sad skeleton samurai has just got a lot of brain problems, okay? I know he's a bad boyfriend, but he's trying his best, and you're, like, driving this wedge between them in, like, literally for the express purpose of being an actual, like, psychotic predator. I can't get over that. It's so dark.
You want to talk about, like, grooming. That's what this is.
That's literally what he calls it, that too. Like, he calls it that. He uses the words grooming. He's like been grooming Tailgate to do this one bad thing for the purpose of getting them killed. Like, man. And like, just the whole shot of him holding Tailgate while like security lights him up is bleak.
Oh, it's because again, you don't know. You don't know for sure.
You have no idea. And also it owns super hard that he just like owns the shit out of Megatron so fast like that. Like poor Megs. Poor Megatron, bro. Like he wakes up, here's like the worst thing he fears in the entire world, like looming over him, so he has an understandable
the worst
bad
thing
reaction.
in the world, Tailgate.
Oh no, a mini con. Yeah, and you know, so he has an understandable, maybe overreaction, but still. And then like, Cyclonus. So like, if you, the sequence of this panel is literally Cyclonus kicks his cat, stabs him in the chest, and then like throws his TV at him.
Poor Megatron is just like, I just got up.
I just woke up.
What the fuck is happening?
What the fuck? I thought we were cool. I thought I was having an okay time on this ship finally.
God, have you ever seen the clip from Eric Andre where Tony Hawk is on?
Yeah.
You know the part where like Tony is like punching him in the face? He's like, I thought we were friends. It's like that.
And it's, I laugh only because I would rather cry.
Well, you cried the first time, and now, like, you know, the second time you can go back, you're like, wait a minute, this is dumb looking.
It's funny now.
Yeah.
Because
you know what happens.
Because I know everybody survives.
Yeah.
But, like no, like, from Megatron's point of view, the last 35 seconds have been some of the worst you've had in, like, 8 months.
And he's probably like, I probably deserved it, but why?
Like, can we not? I'm just trying to sleep.
You're not wrong. Man. But really?
But I would like an explanation.
And
you're not wrong, but I would like an explanation. Thank you.
Which, you know,
God.
You know, thank God for James Roberts again, because, you know, the next issue, you know, the next arc after it opens up where, you know, one of the first things that happens is Cyclonus survived. He got fixed up, and Tailgate's okay. Mm-hmm. And Megatron bursts in to apologize.
Yeah, that's the best part. They don't waste our time with any kind of like him being pissed off or any kind of like misunderstanding shit.
Yeah.
It's literally just like, I'm sorry. I lashed out because it was like a thing that I am, I'm afraid of, but it still doesn't excuse my actions. And Cyclonus is like, it's cool.
Yeah, like
we're cool.
We quickly, very, very quickly figured out that Getaway and Atomizer were behind this. They have been taken care of. Boy, that panel of Ultra Magnus just charging them is great.
It owns. Thank you, Magnus. You're a good guy after all.
I do love when Ultra Magnus like gets to be big.
Yeah, like he actually gets to like use his bigness to like beat somebody's ass.
Like in World Shut Your Mouth when he just picks up a hammer during the trial.
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, it's great.
Oh God.
Speak Memory is the story arc where you just go, it's fine though, they're robots, it doesn't count. There's no violence, it's you can do whatever you want, they're just robots.
Yeah, see, so we were talking earlier about how the Flower Field issue, Necrobot issue, is drawn by Sakamoto, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, it's like, they have a more kind of cute. I don't really want to say cute because that sounds like diminutive.
But I get what you mean though. Like a more.
They have like a softer art style, I guess, is a good way to put it. I think that's what I'll go with instead. Is that it's a more like expressive, kind of softer art style. And then I was wrong.
Not simplistic, but like less detailed.
Sure. Yeah. Like the stories that are getting told. Typically, when this art is used, are like lighter stories that allow for more like fun expressiveness and more like poignant set pieces.
Yeah.
Like we're not using it's not being used to tell some of the more grim stories. And then I was wrong because literally this whole story arc is using that art style and. Hey!
And boy, hey, you know what? It opens with Skids trying to defuse a bomb. And the bomb is an Autobot head.
Who's having a real bad day. Yeah. And then it just gets worse from there. Like, it just keeps getting worse and worse. And, like, Skids.
God, so Skids' memory thing, and then speaking of really, really great robot designs, Freud and Sunder.
Oh God, Sunder is a nightmare.
God, he is awful looking.
He's so fucking scary looking. Like everything about him is just the worst. I don't like any of it, man. It all scars me.
He's horrifying, and just, like, the things he can do are just nightmarish.
Yeah, no, like, we very briefly turn from, like a sci-fi adventure story with, like, a couple, like, gore elements to it, to like, just a horror story.
Yeah.
Like, we just go full horror story for a little while there.
And it's... God, just, like, the whole idea of just, like... You remember, and these people were forged or constructed cold, right?
Right.
They were, in essence, they were built to be this.
Yeah.
And the idea that there's some sort of, like, conscious choice that went into something like Sunder is horrifying.
I know, right? Like, it's like, yeah. When you start... construct, like, this is stuff that gets, like, these are, like, war machines that are being constructed in order to, like, do harm to the enemy. And so you start getting, like, really, really creative with your war machines until you end up with things like Sunder, like, who are just there to hurt and, cause, like, literal psychological damage. Yeah, it's great. It's fine. I'm having a good time with this plot arc. Like,
yeah, it's really great. So we have an A story of Rung and Sunder and Skid and Freud, doing their thing on a ship of nightmares. And then the B plot is Skids' flashback to that time he was in a Decepticon prison camp with Tarn.
With Tarn. We've been building this whole time. I have never dreaded a reveal more. We've been building this whole time toward, one, a confrontation with the DJD, and two, we've been building toward the reveal of, why the Empyrean Suite is a trigger for Skids, why he's familiar with that music, and why, he doesn't have his memories. And it's all been kind of building toward this. And when I say I have never dreaded, a backstory reveal more, I didn't want it. I'm like Skids, man. I'm like Rung. Skids didn't need to know.
Yeah.
You know what? He could have gone his whole life without knowing and been, happier for sure.
We'll get to that. But it's...
I don't wanna.
It's horrifying. It is just genuine. You get both kinds of horror in this story arc. You get the dreading horror of these characters in a POW camp. Who are just, Skids has to make a deal with Tarn to teleport some of these prisoners away.
Right.
And Quark, chews him out for it.
Yeah.
The only thing Skids can say is, they might be slaves, but you need to feed and house them.
Right.
It's still, in essence, a better life than here.
Yeah, because, when you are in a situation that bad, you have to make the decision of, I can't escape from this. I cannot escape from this situation because of, a lot of different factors. So instead, you're doing, harm reduction. You're just trying to, if I can get people to survive, another day, another week, another month, then somebody can come and save them. As long as they're being fed and, given a place to sleep, then, I can still, they can still be saved down the line, right? Yeah. So, he in a very, very bad situation, he's trying to do the right thing. But, the problem is that he is operating under the assumption that Tarn will bargain in good faith.
Yeah, he's under the impression that this is someone who is on the same page with him.
Right.
And
that Tarn will he I mean, the deal is that Skids is naive. He is just, he's naive. He's, I don't know how, I guess he's pretty old, but, that doesn't really matter for Cybertronians just because of the way they are.
Yeah.
He's he's still operating under the assumption that we made a deal, so Tarn will honor that deal. And it's but
in this situation, Tarn has all the power and Skids has none of the power.
Yeah, exactly. So he doesn't really realize just how bad of a situation he's in until, of course, he's in it.
And then we also get the horror of fucking Sunder and what he can do to people.
Turn people inside out, literally.
How horrendous is that as a concept?
Yeah. It's really unpleasant.
The way they break it down is so chilling. Just he gets it in your head that the only way you can be safe is to transform, and then makes you forget how to do that.
How to do it so you literally turn yourself inside out. Ugh. And the art for it is so unpleasant looking. At every turn it just looks really bad and uncomfortable and scary. And of course, Sunder himself is drawn just in, the big, until he gets his eyes back, he's got like the big empty eye sockets and the teeth. Why does a robot need teeth like that? It's just bad. It's very so bad. I dislike it. I highly dislike all of it. I do think, oh God, I just flipped. I'm like flipping through it as we talk, and I got to that money shot of like Sunder like with his eyes out and his mouth open, like that big half-page shot of like his horrible face.
God,
yeah, it just gives you chills. You're like, no. I was having a good time with this goofy manga style art, and now I'm feeling real bad. But like, oh God, so much to like unpack here.
I do want to give another shout out to the scene with Tailgate and Getaway, and that reveal of what they had to do to lock Getaway up.
Oh yeah, that owns, like, because I mean, like, that's his whole shtick is escaping. He's an escape artist, so like, you have to remove every single part of him that would allow him to make an escape.
Like, people like say like they were too harsh on Getaway, that punishment was too much for him, but it's like, yeah, that's like saying, it was too harsh to punish the guy named Firestarter by throwing him in a tank of water. Yeah, like I'm sorry. You have to.
Like, and also I don't feel that bad for Getaway because again, me neither. Fuck Getaway. Like you get exactly what you deserve for trying to set up, like, somebody as sweet as Tailgate to just be murdered. Like, you don't even have the guts to do it yourself and like hope Megatron doesn't immediately kill you and like hope that like security will come in and light him up and you'll get to live, or do something else. You have to involve like somebody completely innocent in the form of Tailgate, who's just like, who's been out of the loop for 6 million years, who is emotionally vulnerable because he's having a hard time with like the person he's romantically involved with. Like you pick him to do the bad thing and to like to get killed. You don't even have like the spine to do it yourself. No, I don't feel bad for Getaway one fucking bit.
Yeah, the fact that his plan relied on the fact that everyone else likes Tailgate a lot.
Yeah, that's it. It's that like people really like Tailgate, so if we trick Megatron into killing Tailgate, then like people are gonna be pissed. It's just. No, I don't feel bad for. They should have taken him apart even more, frankly.
Right.
He should have been in separate cargo parts, like in different boxes. For all I care, like I don't feel bad for him whatsoever. So,
2 more things about this arc before we finally get to the last one.
Oh God, we're almost there.
I know. One, which is the reveal of what Skids did. Is Skids, horrific.
Baby. Skids, baby.
I cannot believe they actually were able to put that into a series that is arguably for like teenagers, like young teenagers.
Yeah. This is technically like a young, not like a young adult, but like a, it's not an adult.
13 to 15-year-old.
Yeah, that kind of... No, they went whole hog with it, man. Like,
and showed a bunch of people in a furnace melting, literally clawing for help.
It's such a bad visual, like of like skin boy. Like it is like they're robots.
Yeah.
They're robots, so with skin boiling and hands coming out of like like the lava pits trying to claw themselves free. You can't imagine what that would feel like, what that would like be like.
Yeah, and just like
having to see that.
You want to know why Skids lost his faith? Like, fucking there you go.
Yeah, like. It's so... Because it really is just turning... Like, Tarn is that kind of a guy. He's turning Skids' like natural naivete, like the natural kind of good-hearted nature of your average Autobot who wants to believe the best in people, and like really using that against him, and you know, mocking him for acting in good faith, knowing full well that like you are dealing with the DJD. You know, Tarn's a fucking like psychopath, man. Like,
yeah,
it's so grim. God, it's really bad. I love it, but like I love it because the writing is really good, but also like, man, Skids.
And then one more thing about this, really like James Roberts validating mental health.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
was great when Rung steps down as the ship psychiatrist,
right?
And Megatron says like something like, "Why don't you ask your patients to decide like if they want you around?" And he's like, "How little do you think of my profession? Like, would you ask a surgeon's patients to decide if they can perform surgery?"
Right.
Like, thank you, James. Thank you.
It's great. Yeah, it's very like it's like, no, this is it was a violation of trust, and so I shouldn't be allowed, to handle like, and realistically, this is a crew of people who are, for the most part, all like having some problems, like every one of them.
Oh yeah.
So like, asking all of these people to like put their well-being in his hands, when he doesn't feel like qualified to do that anymore is like, he knows it would be irresponsible to keep trying. Mm-hmm. It's really good.
It's great because like, you don't see mental health getting that kind of legitimacy in media, and I really appreciate when you do get stuff like that.
And then one other thing, it'll come up next time as well, but hey, Megatron's like, I'm not gonna hurt anybody.
Yeah, Megatron taking a vow of pacifism.
So it owns, especially like, all like, and really, when you think about it, like, more so, like, in the context of everything else that's happened, like, this is really, like, a reaction to, like, what happened with Tailgate. Like, he feels bad about almost killing Tailgate.
This is the culmination of, like, the steps he's taken, from Skids calling him out, from realizing that, like, everyone probably would have been better off if he was just killed. From the Tailgate incident, from the flower field. It's all culminating into this vow of pacifism.
Right. To, like, try and do better. And it's like, it has to be drastic, because, again, you can wake up and decide to do better. Yeah. And that's literally what this is. It's like, I am going to decide to do better. Like, right now.
His timing could have been a little better.
A little bit better.
Because what's coming right after this, we could have used his help maybe a little earlier.
A little bit more. Just a little bit. But at the moment, we had Tailgate to throw the rod pod at Sunder.
Pretty cool.
Which is great. Which owned.
Which was great, yes.
I love this teeny tiny little man who's just ready to fight the world. Like, the entire world.
World, shut your mouth, indeed.
His boyfriend almost got murked super, super hard, and now he's really mad about it, and he's just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to protect you from now on.
He became a 0.1%er because he was so upset about his boyfriend.
Somebody shot my boyfriend in the back once, and now I'm going to pick a fight with the entire universe. That's not an overreaction, right? No.
Oh God, we still have the entirety of the Dying of the Light to go through.
Oh no! Oh no! Are we at the... oh no!
We are at the end. We are at the Dying of the Light.
Oh God, I didn't realize we were at the 3-hour mark.
I know. What are we gonna do? We keep going. I can keep going.
Fine, let's do it. Nobody is going to make it this far, but at this point, that's what the Gorge is, baby. It is just for you and me.
This month is...
It's a break month where we're allowed to just talk about whatever stupid shit we're in love with right now, and it just so happens that we're both in love with Transformers right now.
This is a very, very complex month to work through. I only took one note for the Dying of the Light, and that is
really?
What isn't there to say about this story arc?
Oh God, where to even begin?
We begin with Megatron saying Autobots roll out. That's
Autobots roll out. That actually is a really good place to begin.
We do begin with Rodimus saying, "Would you feel better if I let you say the line?"
We finally done it. We finally come full circle. These two idiots adore each other.
And this is what I talked about earlier, like the stuff they kind of like had to establish early, like late, and pretend it was happening all along, like going on missions where they save people or they help people.
Yeah.
And Megatron's like lectures that he gives, like his assignments and whatnot.
It's cute. He's teaching. He's doing like teaching shit. That's adorable. What are you talking about? I love him.
I love the bit where he's like, everyone did a great job in their assignments, and Riptide is like, did I pass? And Megatron's like, no.
No, but I'll talk to you later about why. It's cute. It's sweet. Like, I just love him. I just love this sad old grandpa. I'm sorry. Even though I know. Listen. Megatron did nothing wrong. My man's is innocent. Okay?
I remember when you were first reading this, like you were like, I'm on the final volume, and I'm like, but you had to like go somewhere, and I'm like, ooh, read the first 3 pages.
Oh yeah, I had to like go. God, where was I? I had to go somewhere, and you bitch were like, just read the first 3 pages, and You suck. You suck. You're such an asshole.
But they're great. I love everyone's reactions to that. I just like, Optimus being like, let's go right now.
Let's go right now. We're going to go. Like,
track that signal. Call the lost light. We're gonna go. It doesn't matter what's happening. We're gonna go right now.
Yeah, we have to go right now because this is like you are in the process of seeing like genuine fear on all of these characters' faces. Understanding that they are about to die.
The Scavengers like, oh wow, that's grim, isn't it? Like cracking up.
Yeah. Oh, even Starscream being like, oh like, no.
Yeah, I love because he's talking to Hook and he's like, look at that. That's real fear. And Hook is like, yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Right now.
Looking at Starscream.
Mm-hmm. Like,
oh, it's great. I love it.
Oh, it's so good. What a hell of a way to start with like everybody being forced basically at gunpoint to face their mortality, right? Like
just everyone getting their final words out and just like, everyone's like, final speech is so good. Chrome Dome talking about how like, well, at least he and Rewind get to die together this time.
Right.
I love Nautica's because she's trying to be so cheerful and like talking about like, everything she went, and then like when she gets to her epithet, she just says, who cares?
Who cares? Like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
I'm literally about to be, if this doesn't work, it's not just that like they're about to die, it's that like they understand that if this doesn't work, they are about to die horribly.
Yeah. The worst possible imaginable death you can have.
Like, they are not going to die slowly in the middle of a fight. Like, they will live through the fight, guaranteed, because it's what comes after that Tarn is looking for. Mm-hmm. Like, all of them are going to suffer immensely before they die. And it's just like that's the part that sucks. Like that's the part you've got to like really grapple with at that moment if you're one of these characters of like you were about to like suffer like a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, like, yeah, of course they're all terrified. Like, nobody wants to go out like that. Jesus.
Wrong saying just whatever's
just
left.
Disassemble me.
Just put me beyond use.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just like... and then we go back.
And we have a fun little adventure. And
got Megatron saying Autobots roll out. And then he nails Minimus in the face. Sorry.
So the thing I didn't realize at first, but like I had to point it out to me, the panel afterward, he has his right arm extended.
Yeah, like he thinks he's still holding his fusion cannon.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like he thinks he's still got that, and he's about to blow Minimus away. And literally, that's like the fact that he isn't carting it is probably the only reason. Minimus isn't dead.
Right.
Like, yeah, it's crazy.
And he goes to talk to Velocity, and they have a really great conversation.
I'm the happiest I've ever been, aka the exact moment my fate was sealed. And I was like, shit.
And
I'm in love with this old murder grandpa.
And you get Velocity answering a phone with Yellow. And telling Megatron that she's glad he's happy.
I'm glad. Yeah, she kind of is in that little, like, side voice. Like, I'm glad you're happy. Like, that's cute. Like... and then it just gets from there, like, you know, we're like, oh, okay, so we're going, like, you know that bad things are about to happen. I just got to, like, one of my favorite panels ever. When did you realize that he uses bad grammar to distract you whenever you want to raise an objection to something he wants to do? He does what? When Megatron says that's Magnus.
Oh, it's great.
Like, he does what? Like, no, how did you not notice? But, like, you know, we're going on an adventure. We're taking the whole team. We're taking Whirl. We're taking 10.
We're taking all the characters we've come to know and love on this adventure.
All the ones who get to have names and faces and biographies. Like, it's fine.
They all get to go, and it goes very poorly.
Almost immediately. Yeah, they get blown out of the sky. They get chased back to Necrobot's place. Nautica gets half her face burned off. And Magnus gets his armor fucked up.
They do a really good job of hiding Magnus's arm for a while.
Yeah.
To like make it unclear, like, is the recall trigger can he activate that if he needs to? Mm-hmm. Oh, it's great.
We have one of my favorite little things is, so like early in the prologue to this volume, we have somebody saying to Optimus, like, you know, there's no response, they're not responding, and Optimus says, those are two different things.
Yes.
And then later on, Rodimus and Megatron have the exact same exchange.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, like Megatron and Optimus are saying the same thing.
Like parallel. It's neat.
Like a parallel or something. It's like something's being said. I don't know. But like, this volume is so good. Like,
this is just the culmination of like everything.
Everything. And it's like you thought that what happened with Tyrest was good, and it is good. Like that's when, like, I really started jiving with this series, but, like, this is when it's like, oh, I'm just stuck forever.
Yeah,
like,
you're gonna be rereading this for the rest of your life, basically.
I'm a mark now. Like, you turned me into a Transformers mark with this. Like, that's it, I'm done. Because, like, it's so, everything just builds up so, like, the grimness of how fucked they are just keeps building.
And if you didn't like Getaway before, this is the turning point.
If you felt bad for Getaway because, like, you know, Roddy did lock him in a box without any of his limbs or his jaw, you felt like bad for Getaway before, don't worry, you don't need to, because fuck Getaway.
I do. There's one thing, like James Roberts said, like, you know that first splash page where it's like Getaway like reveals the rest of the mutineers. Mm-hmm. He said that like he intentionally picked characters that the audience would recognize, like out of like the lower cast, you know, like the lesser B cast. I only really recognized Riptide in that shot.
I recognized Riptide and Atomizer, but that's because Atomizer got a name.
Yeah.
Everybody else, I'm like, who are you?
When I look at it now, I'm like, okay, there's Blaster and
Sure.
and Hound and so. But it's like when I first got to that page, and they're like, everyone is here, and I'm like, I only recognize one of you.
I don't know. It's like I think everybody on the A team could kick all of your asses.
Yeah.
So. But Getaway strands them there, makes a deal to get them murked by the DJD. Megatron gets his if not for my sake, then for theirs. Like, hey, he loves these guys.
And that'll be important much, much later.
Way later, that's going to pay off.
For
now, all you need to know is that, like, go ahead.
In this moment, you can almost respect what Getaway's saying, right?
Sure.
Because, like, yeah, why the hell would they let Megatron just get to be on this ship,
sure,
and hang out, untethered, just wander around space? They could have locked him up in a cell. They could have put him under constant observation.
Sure.
But no, he gets to be captain. He gets to lead this ship. And these assholes are getting chummy with him. Mm-hmm. Like, they're just hanging out and bantering. And Rodimus just lets Megatron say the line.
Yeah. You let Megatron say the thing? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. No, absolutely not. Not for him.
But, again, who cares?
Right.
I like all of these characters, like, way more than Getaway. Especially because Getaway just tried to, like, ruin the lives of all of my favorites.
And, like, but this will be important when we talk about Lost Light. We'll get more in depth with this. And about, like, the mechanics behind Megatron's redemption and all that. But, like, for now, like, in this moment, like, yeah, it is great that, like, the turning point, the deactivation point was Megatron going, if not for my sake, then for theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, fine. Leave me here with, like, that's the thing, right? If it was just about Megatron, leave him there with the DJD.
Yeah.
If you're that mad about Megatron being on the Lost Light, getting to go on his little journey of self-discovery across the galaxy, like, sure, I get it. I do. Like, as much as I fucking hate Getaway, I get it. Like, then just leave him there. Leave him.
Yeah.
If you're so fucking good at making these tricks, find a way to trick just him onto, the Necrobot's planet. Or get everybody else down there and then be like, fine, if you're willing to leave him behind, I will let you come back onto the Lost Light, right?
Right.
Make that offer. I don't think any of them would take them up on the offer because, they're good people.
Right, but you can at least say you did.
Yeah, you could say you did. You made the offer to, like, spare, like literally innocent people, like, Nautica and Skids and them.
Right.
Let them live, go back on the ship, and let the DJD do whatever they want to fucking Megatron, right? That's not what this is about. This is about Getaway proving that his dick is bigger.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to be in charge. He thinks he can do better. It's literally just about, like, the shit he says is to get the crew behind him, but he doesn't care that Megatron is on that ship.
We'll talk about this next time more, but
sure, he
is the opposite of what Rodimus wants, because he wants to be. It harkens back to Dark Cybertron. Mm-hmm. Getaway wants to be Getaway Prime. Mm-hmm. Rodimus wants to be Optimus.
Yeah.
And that's the difference.
Yeah, Getaway wants to be important. Rodimus just wants to have a good time.
Yeah.
And so, like, of course, Getaway wants to prove that he's right and prove that he's, like, worthy to be in charge of this ship. by getting everybody else killed. Like, just, anybody who could possibly have an objection to him being in charge, and who could maybe, like, usurp him being in charge,
His plan is basically to be the leader by default.
Yeah, absolutely. Designated survivor, right? Like, if you kill off everybody else, then he's just like the most senior person left on the ship at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, it's it's really not about Megatron.
No.
It's about a lot more things. And so, like, that moment where Megatron is like, not for my sake, but for theirs, it's like, it's pretty important. And also, because we haven't really talked about it too much now, so let's do it right now. Megatron loves these dorks this point.
He's getting there, yeah.
Like, he's getting there, okay? Like, at this point, like, for the main cast of people that he's interacted with the most, he likes these guys. Like, he really likes Magnus. Magnus has a crush on him. I'm right.
Yeah.
Like, it's super obvious it owns. Like, he likes all of these characters, and he wants to see them, like, be okay. And he doesn't want to do the usual Megatron horse shit of you now serve no, use to me. I'm just going to get rid of you.
Right.
Like, that's Decepticon loyalty, right?
Yeah.
That they've been talking about. So it's like, no, we're not going to do that. We're actually going to do the right thing. And it's like, yeah, what does that badge on your chest mean to you?
Yeah, it's a good callback. Especially because, in this story arc, he very desperately clings to that Autobot badge.
Mm-hmm.
When Tarn and Overlord blow a fucking hole in his chest.
Beat the ever-living shit out of him. Like, man, oh man. Boy, like, when I tell you Tarn is an incel, this is what I'm talking about. He has, like, a very violent reaction to being rejected. Like, Daddy won't tell him that he did a good job.
And I love it because it's just that turn of, like, what causes Nickel to abandon the DJD eventually is when she realizes, like, oh, he's not loyal to the Decepticon cause. He's loyal to himself, and for a long time, those two things lined up.
Sure.
But now that they're not,
right?
He doesn't offer anything.
He doesn't care.
Yeah.
He doesn't offer anything. He's not actually looking to take care. You think for a minute with the like initial meeting with Deathsaurus that he might have, like, a streak of nobility in him, however small, because he does, he doesn't turn on his team the minute he's ordered to do so, and he has, like, a second of hesitation in doing that, and you think, okay, well, there might be something in Tarn, however small, right? And then it turns out that was just because at the time he just didn't want to be out of his team.
And then he kills Kaon.
And then he kills
Overlord
Kaon.
laughed at him.
Yeah.
And you're like, he just doesn't care at all.
He doesn't care at all. He's desperately unhinged. Like, I think the reason Tarn keeps all of these these maniacs around is just because he likes the feeling of being in control.
I think it's both. I think he likes being in control, but also having the deniability. Because he talks about in his monologue where, like, he wears the mask so that he can close his eyes sometimes.
Sure.
He's an incel. He doesn't actually do the things he preaches about.
Yeah, exactly. Tarn is an incel. There you go. Like, he's obsessed with getting, like, this approval from a single person who, like, rejects him, and he lashes out, like, violently at that person who does reject him. Like, like,
when Megatron doesn't stick with the thing that he was loyal to Megatron for, he takes it as a personal insult. When Overlord mocks his teammate, he kills that teammate because to him it's more important that Overlord thinks he's cool than any sort of loyalty.
Yeah. And like, you know, he is deranged, and it makes him an extremely interesting bad guy for sure, who gets what he deserves.
Oh yeah. We'll get to that in a second.
Just a second.
There's still so many other bits in this fucking before the fighting even starts that I want to get to.
God, I know. Okay, what else?
You want to talk about the culmination of Cyclonus and Tailgate? How about
this sad gay skeleton?
God damn it. How about Cyclonus saying the most romantic thing of all time?
I know. He's so in love, and you know, you get like this is literally, and it's like a thing he doesn't want to talk about to anybody. He's an emotionally closed off weirdo, who only recently found somebody to trust to talk about his feelings with in Whirl of all people.
Right? The character who after like that big confession is like, I don't care about romance.
I don't care about romance. But like, you know, he found somebody he can actually talk to in Whirl to say like, yeah, the whole reason I've been pushing, you know, Tailgate back is I don't deserve him. But like
when Whirl is like, so it's not the size difference. In a way, he towers over me.
He towers over me. Like,
you sappy son of a bitch.
You sappy skeleton samurai! I adore you. I just love you so much. You're just so cool. And, you know, he's so in love, and he doesn't know what to do with it. But he definitely knows that, like, he's not gonna let anything happen to Tailgate.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like, it's great. It's just so good. He's so in love.
This whole arc is just full of those moments. There's Nautica and the Amica Endura ceremony.
Oh, I know. This is it. Like, that's it. Like, the whole thing of this whole arc is it's like all of this is because everybody. This is so sappy. I don't care anymore. We're almost at the 4-hour mark.
We are.
What are we gonna do? This is all because everybody loves each other, man.
They do.
Like,
it's so great.
Like, the whole reason all of, like, that they decide to do, like, go out the way they do, like, is because everybody, like, loves each other, and they want to get back home. They're gonna get their fucking ship back. They're gonna go back home. And they're gonna go and keep having their dumb space adventures in Rodimus's frat boy clown car,
you know, and the reason they're staying behind is like the most shallow reason you can imagine. There's a handful of organics that need protecting, and they can't just abandon them.
What does that badge mean to you? Like,
and it's, you know, even Brainstorm suggests like, we leave now, we save billions next time.
Right.
But even he doesn't believe that.
Sure.
They're just, you know what? It's that Autobot loyalty, that Autobot code of just, there's no question about it. There are some innocent people that need our help, so we gotta stick behind and do it.
Right. You know, it's like,
it's great. And then you get Nautica.
The best shot.
You get they finally find Dominus Ambus, and it's the worst thing ever.
Oh, God, no. Rewind. Sorry. We didn't even talk about the best thing ever. Drift is back, baby, and he looks so fucking good.
God, Drift and Ratchet's redesigns are so fucking good.
They're
I don't know.
So fucking solid.
I don't know where they got those upgrades, because Drift didn't have that in Empire Stone.
somewhere along the way, they picked that shit up. Because they're like, we're going to have to be big damn heroes.
They look so cool.
They look so... Drift, you look so cool, baby.
My favorite thing about them is how they found the crew. Because it's like... Velocity reaches out to the phone that First Aid gave her after he left to go be in Combiner Wars.
Right.
And he's like, because she's like, I wanted to send a signal out. And Ratchet's like, that's the signal I gave to First Aid.
First Aid, yeah.
It's just like, First Aid just passes the buck.
Just hands the phone off to Velocity, like, I don't want to deal with him.
He leaves and he's like, if you need any help, call this person.
And she thinks it's going to be First Aid. First Aid's like, ha, sucker, I'm out.
I'm not doing that.
Instead, Velocity gets stuck having to deal with the grouchiest medic robot on the universe, possibly. And he shows up with his hot young boyfriend, and they both look so fucking good. And they're so cool. And we have not one, but two extremely cool samurai transformers. It owns. Yeah. I was never been so happy to see that piece of shit in my life, because I didn't read Empire Stone. I was way too excited to get to the rest of More Than Meets the Eye.
Right.
I've never been so happy to see that man in my life. Man, he's so cool. I love him. I just think he's the best. Drift, and his new face markings,
it looks so
ass.
cool.
And him and Roddy get to have their moment where they he's like, if I thought you wouldn't be mad, I was just afraid that you would tell me no.
Yeah, he was, and he even says I don't have the words. Can you just read my aura or whatever?
Read my aura, please. Can you just do that and understand that, from the bottom of my heart, I'm sorry, and I, really want you to come back. And now they're gonna die.
Yeah.
It's, absolutely certain they're about to die anyways, even with Ratchet and Drift being here. But
no, then you do get the Dominus Ambus reveal. You finally find out who he's been this whole time.
It sucks. And we get our fucking great parallel shot of Chrome Dome getting that arm owned yet again.
Just fucking Chrome Dome being you can have him instead of me, and just no.
And no,
it's not your choice to make, Domi.
It's not your choice to make, Domi. You don't get to make that decision for Rewind. And at that point, because this is a thing that's come back, that came up as well in the time travel arc of, we could find Dominus and, we could stop what happens to him so that Rewind would stay. That's what Rewind is saying. We could find Dominus, we could stop whatever happened to him. And we could warn him, and then it's yeah, you could, but then we wouldn't be a thing.
Yeah,
you would still be with Dominus at that point. It's almost like the bad things that happened to you made you into who you are now.
It's almost like it is important to get you to that place, and you can't just swap it out.
Can't just swap it out. Yeah, and so at that point, and it's that's the question that gets kind of hung over Rewind's head, is in the moment, do you pick, who do you pick? And Chrome Dome is trying to make that decision for him, because at this, Chrome Dome has got oh my god,
yeah,
he has so many fucking problems, and he's just so self-loathing at every turn, and he thinks
Rewind is so right to deck Rodimus and call him an enabler.
You are an enabler. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Roddy needs a good punch in the mouth often. And he's trying to make this decision for him, and he can't. And at that, that's when Rewind decides, no, I know exactly what I want, and it sucks, and it's going to be painful, but you don't get to make that choice, dummy. Yeah. It's great.
Then,
it's so painful, but it's so good.
Speaking of painful, we get to the actual battle.
Oh, no. God, what else is there? Is there anything else?
We can blend some more of the Dying of the Light in our Lost Light episode.
I know.
Because we're just going page by page at this point.
I know. But I love everything in this so much. Oh, man. I am like really... Okay, it's fine. Keep going. I was like thinking of like the other stuff from like the confrontation between Megatron and Tarn when he beats the shit out of Megatron. But it's all like little detail-y things that like if you just read the comic you'll get. But I love that scene. That's what I'm saying. I think that scene's really good.
I love the end of the issue before like the actual battle though, where it's just Rodimus getting everyone into a group hug.
Yeah,
just says, thanks for traveling with me. And
thanks for traveling with me. All he ever wanted was for everybody to have a good time.
Yeah. That is just the wrap up of little victories. Just like all he's hoping for is happily ever after.
Yeah, that's it. All he ever wanted was for everybody to have a good time.
Yeah.
And now they're all about to die horribly. Yeah. At least
nothing
maybe.
About the war or anything about that matters. The only thing he cares about is that they traveled with him.
Right. And everybody loves each other.
Yeah. And now we have to lose two of my favorite characters in this.
Okay. All right. Where do we even start? Oh, Skids. Let's finally...
That's the worst bookends ever. Is Skids appearing in the comic and thinking his name is Scum, and his last words being calling himself Scum.
I'm Scum, man. I'm Scum.
Oh, it sucks, and it
sucks so much.
I hate the shot of Brainstorm, like, getting thrown into Skids' statue, and just going, where is his statue gone?
I know.
And then just that
get that shot
of Ratchet,
and he's like depigmented and just on the ground because he's trying to crawl. And it's just like, God Almighty, it's so sad.
And the only reason Megatron wasn't there to help was because he just saw Ravage get ripped in half.
And and like, okay. Oh God, there's so much to tell. We'll put a pin in that. I'm not done with Skids. I am so upset about Skids, like, because he's just so...
He was the heart of the crew. He really was.
There's really but like he's just been so sweet the whole comic. Like he's kind of Gorm, like he's really smart, but also at the same time kind of Gormless and just, along for the ride, having a good time. Doesn't really necessarily care about getting his memories back at first, and just honestly would have been better off.
I think about when he was in his appointment with Rung, talking about, the horrors of the bomb diffusing situation. And then afterwards, the only thing he really cares about is helping Rung put his model ships back together.
Yeah, like, he's just a good guy. He and what really, really sucks, like, there's such a horrible, bitter irony to it, is that early on in season 1, when he's like, I don't know, I think I'm just going to kind of roll with not having any memories, like, he would have been better off. Like,
yeah.
Like, unequivocally, they would have figured out a better way. Like, they were really, scraping for ways to get by, to, like, survive this whole DJD thing. But, like, maybe they would have found another way. I don't know. But, like, he, as himself, would have been better off not knowing.
Yeah.
Like, literally for the rest of his life, of which would have been significantly longer if he hadn't known. Like...
But he's an Autobot, and that's what they do.
It's what they do. Like, that's the thing, is it's like, you know... And he's just like that whole thinking in his head, like, it does a disservice to all the people who knew me to not remember them. And to a degree, like... He's right, because we found out that, like, the person Brainstorm loved was Quark, the guy that died in the smelting pot. Mm-hmm. So, like, to a sense, like, yeah, it actually does a disservice, because, like, this is a member of this crew that he's, like, really attached to not know what happened to, like, the person that, like, Brainstorm loved. And, like, but at the same time, like, God... Like, you know, he didn't tell... I mean, he didn't have the time to tell Brainstorm what happened.
Didn't get the chance to.
Yeah.
So it didn't get accomplished, but...
God.
He did what he had to.
He did what he had to, and the worst part is that, you know, it keeps going back to this whole, like, the bad things that happen to you make you who you are. And, like, that... Even that pays off later in Lost Light, so it wasn't pointless.
It wasn't, but in a way it also was, kind of, you know?
It wasn't pointless, but it would almost feel better if it was.
Yeah, because, like, I don't know, it's hard for me to articulate right now, but, like... It ultimately felt... If something like this were to happen in real life, it would feel more pointless. Like,
sure.
in a narrative perspective, it has a purpose.
Sure, absolutely.
But in the idea of it being a random circumstance of events, it feels like a pointless sacrifice.
Right, absolutely. But, like... the bad things that happen to you for, you know... Yeah. You can't take them back, and if you took them away, you might be a completely different person, and maybe that's a good thing, and maybe that's a bad thing. I'm not saying that, like, the bad things that happen to you for a reason, because I hate that. Like, I hate that philosophy.
Right.
But
they connect to something.
They connect to something. Yeah, you are the way you are because of, like, the good and the bad things that happen to you. And, like, even that... pays off in the end.
God, you should read Order of the Stick, Sarah.
I know, at some point. Ben, I got enough comic books to read from you.
You know what? If you like James Roberts, the Transformers, more than meets the eye, you will also like Rich Burton's The Order of the Stick.
I know. Listen to me. I have to read all of Robots in Disguise. I really want to read, like, some of the stuff from Phase 1. What do you want from me? I have to play Resident Evil 8. I know. I still haven't played Nier. What do you want from me? I don't have any more emotions to give. I'm already so sad about Skids. I'll just be sad about Skids forever, probably.
Yeah. I look at my shelf and I see my Skids and I'm like, man, you could have made it, buddy.
You could have made it, buddy, and just...
The way Megatron's heart breaks when he sees Ravage get torn in half, too.
I know. Okay, so here's the thing. We've been holding off on this one for a while, and we're really, really deep into this episode, and I'm afraid we're going to go over 4 hours. What are we going to do? But I got to get this, like... So he takes... So it's all been leading to this. He takes, like, this vow of pacifism, and you're thinking, like, buddy, this is super not the time for you to have...
Everyone calls him out on it, too.
Sure.
They're like, yeah, that's all well and good. We need you right now.
Like, we need you to be, like, Megatron, right? Like, right now, we need you to be Megatron the fucking Destroyer. Like, the guy who turns his enemies into paste. And, like... You really almost let yourself think, like, you know, for a minute, you really are on, like, their side. Like, hey, like, this is cowardice.
Yeah.
Right? But ultimately, like... So Ravage gets torn in half. And Megatron goes, okay, fine. I am going to be that thing.
I'm going to be Megatron again.
I'm going to be Megatron again. And he says, you know, he was telling Ratchet, like, I'm afraid if I go out there, I won't stop.
You won't get this chance again.
Yeah. Like, he won't stop. He'll just go back to being who he used to be, and he does not like who he used to be anymore. But he goes out there, and he, you know, he is Megatron, and, like, he's right. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah.
He was right to be scared, because, like, once he has Tarn and the rest of the DJD trapped in that bubble with him, like he tears them apart.
He
literally tears them apart at, like, a subatomic level. And it's like, and he can't stop. Like, there's, like, the only reason he stops is because Rodimus reaches his hand out.
Yeah.
Like, he fully, like, he understood.
He was prepared to die in that situation because he didn't. Like, he was afraid that if he survived it, then he would just be Megatron again.
He would just be, like, that Megatron again. Like, the most dangerous man in the universe. And so, like, in a way, he was right to be afraid. It meant, you know, it's easy to make a vow, like.
But if you're going
to break it,
when the first special circumstance comes up.
Yeah, exactly. You know, when like there's real pressure being put against this morality that you're trying so hard to go after, like, what does it mean? Like, it's easy to have principles when there's no
stake,
fallout from it. You know?
Yeah.
That's easy. It's really hard to maintain it in the face of, like, destruction.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, but he does it. He does the coolest thing in the fucking universe. Antimatter Megatron is just the coolest fucking thing in the entire universe.
So
it made me into a crazy person, and we're all just gonna have to accept that. Like, sorry. Don't look at my Tumblr likes. But yeah, no, and, like,
God, I chills at I was happy.
I was happy, and you ruined it. You know, and when he does off Tarn, he says, I want you to die knowing that it was all for nothing.
God, and the fact that Tarn's last plea was be reasonable.
Be reasonable. Yeah. Be reasonable. Like, Megatron he went to that he went to his monument and said, like,
I'll
you
surrender.
Can have me, and you just let the others go. That was being reasonable. Like, you have missed that boat, buddy. Like, you've completely shot past that. And yeah.
And
like, the the indignity of using their real names on them. Just reminding them of, like, how small they are.
The only problem I have with them using their real names is that a lot of their real names are also cool.
Their real names are actually very cool. But,
like, a character named Forstock is, like, that's a good name to give a character, though.
But it does own that Tarn's real name is just Glitch.
Yeah.
Like, which is not a cool name.
No.
Like, or at least it doesn't symbolize the same kind of strength. Because, like, Megatron is from Tarn. That's the whole point. You know? Like, all of the DJD have names of places. And it's pretty important that like Tarn took his from Megatron himself, and so like, you know, you are not even remotely on my level. You are not. You're nothing. You're a glitch.
The line that gets me is 2 fusion cannons. Look at yourself.
Look at yourself. Yeah, like how pathetic you think you are. You just built yourself up to be, you know.
You are just trying to be me, but better.
Yeah, and you're failing miserably because you don't even remotely have the cunning or the wit. You lose your cool. You want desperately to impress me, and you want to impress Overlord. You know, like you're so desperate to look important when you are nothing. Like that's literally what's being said in all of that, is just like you're nothing. And which is a lot. That's a lot. It's pretty intense.
It's a lot going on.
It's pretty cool.
And
it's extremely satisfying, that's for fucking sure.
Yeah. Megatron being prepared to die with them. When Tarn says, I'll die a Decepticon, and Megatron says, you and me both.
You and me both. And using Tarn's mask as a Decepticon symbol, just...
So, I have a question for you, Sarah.
Yes.
About this, and I think this is kind of a good closing point for this.
Sure. Oh god, this nightmare of an episode.
What did Ravage mean by don't change back?
Oh god.
Was Ravage saying, don't change back into a Decepticon because you have made so much progress as an Autobot?
Right.
Take that badge off, you don't wear that anymore. Or was he saying, don't keep that badge on, become a Decepticon, do not change back into an Autobot?
Right. I think at this point, I do think he's saying don't change back into a Decepticon. Like,
I want to believe.
I want to believe.
Too. Yeah.
I want to believe that because at this point, like Ravage has been with him the whole time. Like he's been with him the whole, you know, painful trip through all of this, you know, and seeing like to be on the receiving end of like Megatron's old worldview and, you know, his like how destructive that entire philosophy really is, you know, and to see the kind of emotional turmoil it does to like, you know, to somebody who I think Ravage respects at this point, to see like the kind of turmoil that does and to understand that going back would be backsliding. Don't go back as in don't slide into who you used to be. Like
I think I want to believe that because I think it's a nice callback to when he says when we've won we'll look back at this time and laugh.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely like kind of how I lean too. Because at this point, you know, he's seen enough himself, and he definitely is aware of like the horrors that Tarn and the others can inflict. So, yeah, it's so, man.
God, what a fucking good comic book.
What a good ass comic book, and you know, and just to wrap it up, one last thing is that, you know, they make this decision, they're going to make this stand, they're going to protect these organics, right? And it turns out that, like, I love it. I love that payoff of the organics in finger quotes being other Cybertronians.
Yeah, the ones that the Necrobot had been saving.
Yeah, you know, it's it's this really great payoff of deciding to do the right thing, even when it's... Again, this goes back to what we were saying with Megatron deciding to actually do some murder. Like, deciding to do the right thing, even when it's hard, will benefit you.
Yeah.
Like, it will benefit you. And then even in, like, even with Skids... Ultimately, what happens to Skids does pay off in Lost Light.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's, choosing to do the right thing, even when you know that it's gonna, put you in harm's way in, like, a big way. Like, that's not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is the right thing to do, even when it sucks. And you have the chance to, get hurt or somebody else gets hurt, Like, it's not wrong to hope that doing the right thing will pay off for you. Yeah, and so, like, to have that, it ends on a cliffhanger, like a big cliffhanger.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. It ends with the planet exploding, basically.
With the planet exploding. But, like, that's the cool thing, is to have it like, this is a pretty bleak final volume for all the stuff that happens to everybody. Like, especially in comparison to what happens at the end of season 1, like, it's a pretty bleak way to cap things off.
Mm-hmm.
But to still have, like, a little bit of, like, hope to be like, no, this was the right thing to do.
Right.
This, we didn't take they could have just teleported right out.
Yeah.
But they didn't take the easy way out, and it paid off. It saved, like, way more lives. People who otherwise would have been lost literally forever.
Like a nice parallel to season 1 with Whirl and Cyclonus. If Cyclonus had indulged himself and killed Whirl, then Tailgate would have died too.
Yeah, exactly. Doing the right thing is hard and sometimes sucks ass, but it's the right thing for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We get that great bit where he's like, his fucking fusion cannon is busted,
yeah,
and he's still threatening people with it because he's just kind of, deranged from grief. And then he drops it as soon as Terminus shows up.
Yeah.
That was great.
Oh, that's such a good ending line too. It's what happened? Nothing. Everything. I lost my way. Oh my god. We're good. We're almost at 4 hours. And
are we done? I'm so, like, I have so many I feel like I didn't even get it all out.
I'm really glad Lost Light is less volumes than this.
Oh, thank God. Lost Light. God willing, Lost Light is a little bit more digestible. It's because this season is so dense with, like...
Yeah.
Everything kind of coming back on itself and, like, a lot of meaning and
If I had known, we would have just done 4 episodes this week.
I know.
This month.
I know. Shit. It's fine. I should have expected it to go for 4 hours. I don't even feel like I truly got across how much I love this sad old man.
We did speed run this, unfortunately.
We did speed run this. We did.
There's more to talk about. We might have to talk about doing just like a final thoughts episode at some point later.
At some point down the line. Yeah. Maybe after I read Robots in Disguise.
Yeah, we'll do an IDW final thoughts episode.
That'll be good, because have I gotten across how much I love the murder grandpa?
He's a good murder grandpa.
He's a good murder grandpa. He's my new boyfriend forever. So.
But okay, I'm gonna pull the plug here.
Let's do it. Wrap it up.
Okay. Thank you, Vistager. If you for background music, you can follow me on Twitter at thegorgepodcast. You can follow Sara at radioinactivity. You can email us at thegorgepodcast@gmail.com. if you want to listen to Sarah talk for less than 4 hours, you can listen to her other podcasts.
Sometimes we record multiple episodes in a day, so I'm actually usually, if you're listening to me on my other podcast, sometimes I have been talking for 4 hours. Hey, I'm in another... Sometimes I record Big Gay Nerds and this on the same day and end up talking for like 5.5 hours, and then people wonder why I'm hoarse the next day.
I try really hard to not do that for that specific reason.
Thank you. Hey, I'm in another podcast called Big Gay Nerds, where me and a bunch of cool queer friends get together when we play tabletop games. We try out lots of different systems. It's always a lot of fun. You can go over to Big Gay Nerds on SoundCloud, and you can find the links to the rest of our social media from there. Thanks.
Alright, that'll do it for us. Just like last time, fuck Getaway.
Fuck Getaway. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.